Jack Sparrow, stay sharp.
Nate, I'm a friend of Sully's.
Sally doesn't have any friends. I should know. I'm one of them.
That's not true. People love me.
Hey, what can I get you?
Vodka tonic.
Vodka tonic, come on. It's my first drink of the night. Test me a little.
You heard it up top. We are talking the video game franchise that is more film than game. That is now a film about a game. That's right, because we're talking Uncharted here on Normies Like Us with your hosts, Colin Sullivan.
Not just Mike Wahlberg.
And this is Unjacobed.
Oh, wow. Nice. Not Jacob Drake.
Oh, wow.
I don't know any. Oh, yeah.
Sure.
Jacob Drake. That's the character's
And
name.
wait, and Solely, I'm sorry, it's Solely Sullivan. What is the girl Chloe's last
Sully
name?
Sullenberger, right? He
And
landed
then
that plane.
Chloe. Chloe.
I can't
don't
even
know.
remember.
They don't say it very often, but Fraser with a Z. Fraser. As a nod to
Sure.
Brendan
Sorry,
Fraser,
Colin Fraser. Of course.
the
Fraser,
other best Indiana
of
Jones
course.
clone. Yeah.
The radio psychiatrist.
That's right. We just talked Indiana Jones. And in fact, on that podcast, we listed out a bunch of other films that we thought were sort of in the adventure franchise. Jacob revealed, I've never seen the Uncharted film. And I believe not necessarily right then, but it really put on our radar, Normies, that we had to do an episode on this topic. So here we are.
Of course.
Yeah. Video game media is having a bit of a upswing. You know, the Mario movie making $1 billion, The Last of Us being critically acclaimed. You know, a lot of stuff happening, and new Castlevania show, things like that. So it's like,
Hey,
let's take a look at some video game movie that throws back to an era when maybe it was less good. I don't know. I don't want to.
Right.
But
Well,
we'll talk about it. Gran Turismo's out. People are loving video game movies, so we figured we'd dive in.
oh, that's right, Mike.
Uncharted.
Well, this is
territory.
based on a true story too. Yeah.
Uh-huh.
And, Sony is really banking on this being, it's pretty much their biggest franchise aside from Spider-Man, if you think about it. Like, what other franchises does Sony really have to hang their hat on? I guess Sonic. I don't know. Is that Sony?
Nope, that is not Sony. So
That's not even Sony.
Paramount.
They own the IP for
Yeah.
Demon's Souls.
Horizon
and this is technically
Zero
Naughty
Dawn.
Dog. Yeah.
Right. But like Sony,
They own Spider-Man and
the
this
PlayStation films that they're trying to make, like this is like the first step into that water, right?
Yeah, that's absolutely true. And based on the popular video games, can I ask you guys before we jump into the movie though, what's your history with these games? You ever play Uncharted like Colin? You ever push a box and climb a ladder?
So check it out.
I'm just hearkening to Naughty Dog's gameplay staples that make their way into Last of Us. If you love pushing boxes
you're
and
right.
climbing ladders,
Right. I'm laughing because I am thinking there are good games that do that, and I think these are good games. But
They
no,
do
to answer
well.
your question, Mike, I've never played this franchise. Now, former host of this program, Joe Asta, before he went missing with one half of a cross. I don't know if I told you guys that is where he's been. He loved these games, and we used to live together. So I've never played them, but I can remember countless Sundays where he would just throw one on and go like, I'm going to play this scene. And it really mirrored. Do you guys remember there was a pretty famous ad campaign? I can't remember if it was for one of the early ones on the PS3 or maybe for the PS4 one, where it was a guy who was getting like interviewed by PlayStation, was like, yeah, my girlfriend, she's always like, let's watch the next episode. She doesn't even realize, like, it's a video game. It's not a movie. It's not a TV show. Do you guys remember that ad? But my life very much felt like that ad. I would watch it like a show. I'd be like, Joe,
Well, I
play
think
Drake.
that's kind of what these games, they're like a big movie game where you kind of play through the scenes of the movie, and there's the big action set pieces and stuff.
Cutscenes.
Yeah. But it's a lot of on rails kind of like you're just going through the different scenes of the game, which can be fun. Like it's one kind of game. I mean, open world games kind of got more popular in the 2000s and 2010s. So this kind of game almost feels a little old fashioned to me, but I still like a nice, like on rails story type of game.
Did you do these ones, Jacob?
I've never played these, but like you, our friend Cole, guest on the podcast before, was a big fan of these, and I would watch him play on the old PS4, and he really enjoyed those. So I like you, I've seen a lot of gameplay from this. Yeah.
So I have a little bit of experience with these. I've only played like the first and second one. And the second one I actually ended up play testing, like at Naughty Dog in Santa Monica or whatever. So I pretty much beat the whole game before it came out. I guess not a lot of playtesters had been able to finish it. So I beat the second game. That's one where he climbs up the train in the beginning, which there's,
right. Mission
similar
Impossible.
sequence to this. Yeah, Mission Impossible did that.
Hey, that was listeners. That was the other reveal off pod when we were pitching episodes where Mike was like, "Well, I actually play tested an Uncharted game, and I didn't know your history of video game testing." Where I was like, "Well, we're definitely talking about Uncharted then."
Right.
And I may have mentioned it on Transformers, one of the early ones with Evan, because I did do some more for Cybertron testing as well, and they give you games and whatever. But it was an interesting time. But definitely, I call these, like, they're pretty linear, but I call it a hallway game. That's not coined, but it's like, God of War Ragnarok's a hallway game, but it's done really well. Like, it's very linear, but what the set pieces are is really exciting, and you're just kind of going through a movie.
Totally.
Which is interesting because the game itself is almost already fulfilling that role of being this adrenaline-filled movie that you're taking part in. So why do you even need to make a movie is kind of the question here. Later.
They should make an Old Boy hallway game, don't you think?
Bro, that would be the best one. The side scroller, I love it. They're going to turn it into a stairwell game with Josh Brolin, unfortunately.
Just the hallway fight.
Yeah.
I did want to mention also, speaking of our friend Cole, there was a short that was made before this movie was made, a few years before this, I think. It was just an internet short video that someone made that that our friend Cole worked on the crew, and it was, I believe, the first live action adaptation of Uncharted, and it starred Nathan Fillion, who was for a long time like the dream fan casting of Nathan Fillion, right?
Hey, check it out. Huge fan film. I don't know, again, if you guys recall, this was one of those things where, like Jacob was just saying, like, so many fans were writing in being like, well, when you make it a movie, who cares about Nolan North, the guy who voices Nathan Drake in the game? Like, it needs to be Nathan Fillion. And people would write that in, nobody would do anything about it. So they made this, untitled
proof of concept kind of thing, right?
Yes, like it's there were those old knockoff like the Power / Rangers. Like there was this trend where people would be like, what if we make these non-licensed fucking things?
Right.
So Jacob, I texted friend of the podcast Cole today to say like, hey, we're gonna talk Uncharted. I remember that you worked on this thing, pretty famous short. Any good stories or whatever that we could share? And he said not very memorable. But he did want to shout out, I think this is a pretty cool fact, the guy who shot it, his buddy Alex, he does not give a last name, but shout out to Alex, became pretty famous. I don't know if you guys have watched the fan film recently, but there's a scene of him flying through the air, Nathan Fillion as Nathan Drake, like doing a big punch. The way they shot that is this guy Alex had to be like up on a cable and like bounce to shoot it or whatever with him as well, and then they slow it down, green screen everything, right? But he became a pretty famous meme in the film community called like Flying Camera Guy, where people would like meme and like cut him out and stuff. So I thought that was pretty cool.
Oh, that's great.
Okay.
Yeah,
shout out to Flying Camera Guy, and that's very,
shout
very
out
cool.
to a Flying Camera Guy.
Yeah, I think with fan films like that, you can't. I don't know if they could say the words Uncharted or Nathan Drake, but I think with a fan film, as long as it's not for profit, then you're allowed to. That's why there's like Spider-Man fan films and stuff. Yeah. But I need to check it out. I should have rewatched that before this episode, but yeah.
Cole's other kind of big note was everybody on set was not told what game they were adapting. So I don't think if you were a mega fan, you probably wouldn't have even known, right?
Right. It could just be a weird
Nathan Fillion just playing a explorer adventure type.
Yeah.
Hey, last thing I wanted to ask before we jump into talking about the movie, which is mainly what we're going to be doing today. I just wanted to know, what is your guys' history with Tomb Raider? Did you guys play those games at all?
I was a PlayStation
not too
person,
much,
so I did. But yeah, go ahead.
I was not a PlayStation person. I was a Nintendo boy back in the day. But I was, familiar with.
Never played Tomb Raider.
Yeah.
Wow.
I was familiar with it, but I never played it. Yeah.
You guys missed out. Tomb Raider 2, backflipping pistols akimbo, fighting a T-Rex. You kidding me?
Yeah.
There was a T-Rex boss fight. That was crazy. Yeah. I love Tomb Raider.
Well, let me ask you this too. Have you seen any of the Tomb Raider movies, specifically like the new ones, right?
The best.
None
Or
of the
the
new
new
ones.
games.
Oh, you know what?
The
I don't know
Jolie
if I saw
ones.
the new one.
Yeah, I've only remember going to Angkor Wat and destroying national treasures to film a movie there.
Right.
You know,
And then
Oh,
there's the newer
no.
Tomb Raider games where they kind of change
Damaging.
up the style a little bit.
Yes.
And made them kind of Uncharted like, where you're going through these different
Made
set
'em a
that is a
female Nathan
Sony
Drake.
property too. So
Yeah.
you know, go figure. Yeah.
Right.
And then there's
Um,
of course red-haired future lady. What are those
Horizon
games
Zero
called?
Dawn. Yeah, I assume they're going to
Yes.
be making a movie out of that someday, and it will make about $100 million on a $300 million budget, probably, and
yeah.
won't get a
Oh,
sequel.
That's
no.
about right.
Sounds like something Sony would do.
Yeah, yeah. But
Oh.
yeah, I think speaking of Sony, that's a good time to transition because we are taking one of the properties that is a for a long time an exclusive on their platform. Now they're shifting over to the silver screen. So let's do it. Let's hit some Uncharted territory right after this.
We're back here on Normies Like Us. We're talking Uncharted. That's right. We don't have a map on this podcast when we're talking this incredible Sony film.
Yeah, incredible indeed. Absolutely incredible. You know, we have
Hmm.
Tom Holland, Mark Wahlberg, again, Spider-Man, the best thing Sony has. They're like, you know what?
Wow.
Let's just stick with our guy, Tom, our in-house guy. You know,
Right.
they cast a younger
Right.
Nathan Drake, a younger Sully. It's kind of a prequel.
Should have been Andrew Garfield.
Oh, man. Hey,
And Mike, I literally out loud said to myself watching this, like, well, this will be interesting for the podcast because obviously Tom Holland, we've talked about a bunch. We've covered all the Spider-Man films, but certainly we've never done anything where Mark Wahlberg would be on the podcast before. And then I started cackling when I, of course, made the realization that we have visited this young man in his Cybertronian adventures before.
you know what? That is terrible because now this
You're
is
not wrong.
the Venn diagram of my game testing and these films is Mark Wahlberg.
That's right.
The Transformers
right.
universe and the
Transformers.
Uncharted universe collide
Wow.
next to Mark
The perfect
Wahlberg.
crossover, dude.
Literally crosses over twice, 2 crossing overs of crosses.
Well, we should mention just Mark Wahlberg, maybe not a great guy. Again, like a lot of people that happen to be in movies sometimes that we cover. We just should probably mention that up
Seems
front.
like-
Was it errata?
Yeah. So not a fan of Mark Wahlberg as a person, or really as an actor.
either. So
Yeah.
No,
But just if I could give a little background on this movie. So this obviously came out February of 2022. So about a year and a half ago at this point.
mhm.
It was directed by Ruben Fleischer, a director that I think kind of sucks and has made one good movie, which was his first movie, Zombieland, and then pretty much has only made
Ah.
movies that I didn't really like. Venom.
and then like what happened? He
Oh, so
made
it is an
Venom, he made
in-house
Gangster
Sony.
Squad, but like
Yeah.
he
I don't
is.
know. He's
All
just-
those films are Sony. But
Right.
In
But
Gangster
but
Squad,
Jacob, why?
the rare movie with a bad Ryan Gosling performance, I didn't think it was possible, but Gangster Squad did it.
Yeah.
So
Wow.
I'm not a fan of
The
Ruben
guys
Fleischer.
who wrote Zombieland, who of course we talked about when we did that What You Talking About Twisted Metal, those two gentlemen, like left him to basically only work with Ryan Reynolds. What does that mean? It's almost like when we did our Christopher McQuarrie leaving BS, sorry, I almost said his name, and going
Yeah,
to Tom Cruise.
Right.
You just find your better champion.
Mhm.
Yeah. Well, I guess, Jesse Eisenberg, he made his second movie 30 minutes or less with him. And what I thought
Oh,
was
yeah.
interesting, so reading about this movie, I found out what Ruben Fleischer signed on to do next, which is Now You See Me 3, which first of all, if they don't call it
Oh,
Now
no.
You 3 Me, that's a
Look,
perfect opportunity.
They already didn't do Now You Don't for the sequel, so I'm sure they
Yeah.
will fuck it up.
Yes, which sucked.
Now You 3
God.
Me.
Yeah.
But that's perfect because
That's incredible.
that has Jesse Eisenberg
Now
and
you
Woody
three
Harrelson
me.
from his first
Wow.
movie. And I was
Yeah, that's
Kind of surprised that he
right.
didn't direct, Now You See Me Too, but he didn't. So
And is
Right.
it kind of a flip? Does he kind of play? Jesse Eisenberg kind of plays the cool magician, right? Like that's kind of
Yeah.
that's so dumb, guys.
No,
Those
it makes
movies
sense
are-
though, because this is
Yeah.
it has. I can see the Now You See Me DNA in this goofy heist.
Yes,
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I get it.
100%.
Mhm.
And Ruben Fleischer, he's worked with Jesse Eisenberg and Woody Harrelson before. I guess it makes a lot of sense, but yeah, I'm not
Jesse
a fan of him
Eisenberg
as a
should
director.
play the brother in the sequel to this film, but we won't
Yeah,
talk
yeah.
Oh,
about
the sequel
that.
that will never get made.
We're definitely getting.
Why not?
I do think this is interesting. So before Ruben Fleischer was attached, there was like a bunch of other people attached, including David O. Russell, which is interesting
Mark
because he's never
Wahlberg's
really.
guy.
That's true, but he's never really done a franchise picture like this.
No.
You know, he's always done like
No.
quirky
But-
indies and stuff like that. So it'd be a really
But
weird
important
departure.
to point out,
Yeah.
this film has been in development for so long. Mark Wahlberg was originally signed on to play Nathan Drake and aged
Yes.
into the Sully role.
I think that's what
Oh.
happened with Nathan Fillion, whereas like he would have been the perfect casting like 15 years ago, but he's
Mhm.
you know, he would be a Sully now. But yeah, this movie entered development in 2008. Avi Arad producing, obviously. And so yeah, David O. Russell was attached in 2010. And a bunch of other people were attached, including Dan Trachtenberg, director of Prey,
Mhm.
Travis Knight, director of
Oh, wow.
Bumblebee, Sean Levy.
Oh,
So like
wow.
a bunch of different names have been attached to this at some point. I mean, it's been in development, I guess, for 12 years.
Sean
Insane.
Levy,
Jeez.
Ryan Reynolds, other guy. Interesting.
Yeah. Also not a director I particularly like.
No.
But-
Can I say something about that Suicide Squad of
yeah.
just like Guns for Hire that you just read?
Yeah. I mean, Dan
Right.
Trachtenberg, he's, you know, I like his movies.
I think
He's only
Prey
been
was
in
great.
two or three, but
Yeah.
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 10
My
Cloverfield
favorite of
Lane.
those names, I'd say.
Yeah.
Marie
Yeah.
Elizabeth Winstead. Yeah, he's cool with me.
Yeah. But just some interesting facts about this movie. So I thought that was interesting, but Ruben Fleischer eventually took it over, and this movie did get made.
It made
Uh,
a perfect film, and we all agree.
Yeah,
It's definitely a film. It's one of the
movies.
films
A
of all
movie.
time.
It's an
Yeah,
movie? No, it's a movie.
It's a movie.
Of course, we
but
have Tom
Uncharted,
Holland.
Yeah. Go
Yeah.
ahead.
You know,
Please.
Peter Parker himself, little Tom Holland. Now, Colin, I know how you feel about this. Tom Holland trying to be very adult in this role, trying to be very masculine, projecting a sort of masculine energy, but
Hey.
also, you know, the baby face, the petite frame. It's interesting, right? Like he's not a typical leading man type, I would say.
For this Nathan Drake role, that's more of an adventurer, right? Sorry.
Yeah, like he's great for Peter Parker, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's interesting. Where are we with this young man? Because I will be fully honest with you guys. I'll lay down my cards right now. This movie sucks. I hate this
Mhm.
movie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think the big issue is the chemistry of the leads. So we're going to go through the whole thing, but let's really rip apart these two to start out here and say, like, you know, in defending Tom Holland, do I want to anymore? That is something I think when I watch these things, because I'll be honest with you guys. I watched his dumb Apple TV show. I had to do it for work, that Crowded Room. I thought it was some of the worst acting I've ever seen in my life.
Wow.
And I have seen that Daisy Ridley movie where your
mind reading.
thoughts are things.
Yeah, it's like a
Yes,
planet
it's
of
like-
all men.
I'll be
but
honest with you
women,
guys.
yeah.
Like, Tom Holland, God bless you, young man. I know you are a good Spider-Man, but he is one of these guys where I'm like, well, you're just like a Christopher Reeves. That's all you will ever be good at, dog.
His range is not great. Yeah, I like him as Peter Parker and as Spider-Man, but outside of that, I've never seen anything of his that I've particularly liked. Even that Russo brothers movie Cherry, where
I have
he's
not
trying
seen
to he's trying to go outside of the
I'm a
box. Right? He's
heroin
trying
addict.
different things, but it's not working. And here's the thing: I think Tom Holland as a person seems like a great guy. Like seems very lovely. Like in interviews and
Mhm.
stuff, seems like a nice guy. But I don't know if he's a great actor.
I want him to marry Zendaya for what it's worth.
Yeah,
Yeah,
we're
he
very
seems-
happy
I
with
don't
that
know.
ship.
Their relationship seems to be
Yes.
going great. I'm very happy for them.
Yeah.
And he's pretty much said in interviews like he could just retire and be like a house husband to Zendaya and just be happy that way. So
Bro.
maybe that's what he should
Yeah.
do.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
But I think
Understandable.
he
There's
does have a
worse things
background.
to do in life. Yeah.
Yeah, he has a background as a dancer, and I think that does show through in the action and the choreography. I think the way he moves, he's very graceful, and I think that's why he might work as Spider-Man. And in the action scenes in this, I do think he does well. So I'll say that. Like the parkour
Physically.
and stuff that he's doing, like he can do all the moves, you know?
Mike, what is your exposure to him outside of Spider-Man?
Largely just the devil all the time, Spider-Man versus Batman. You know, Robert Pattinson's in that film.
Right.
Oh, yes.
He's like an
right,
Ohio
yes.
boy
I
coming
really
back.
didn't like him in that either.
No, me neither.
Yeah.
Pattinson was
No,
interesting.
he's
in it,
done a
but-
lot of
Yeah.
against type, like pretty much everything from he's done outside of Spider-Man has been like, I'm trying something new. I'm going to be like this edgy, like, drug addict or like this person with like mental
If
problems.
I was his agent, I would have him play a nice young man in this next movie. He is good at playing a nice young man.
Right, because that's what he is.
Yeah, and it's
I would also have him
no
play
fault of his
somebody
own.
British. We listed all those projects. He
All
does not do
Americans.
his voice. I'm sorry. I just wanted to say that real quick.
Mhm.
Yeah, that's true. That's very weird. And I feel like
Just
just
have him
his
play a nice British young man.
yeah,
Right.
and like you said, his lines in this, like he's trying to sound older than he is. Like
Because
he's
to
still in his
contrast it
early
with
20s.
the character, right? Nathan
Yeah.
Drake in the first game is like in his mid-30s. You know, they've lived life.
Right.
They have relationships with pre-existing characters. You know, he's a little bit more rough and tumble. He's not like a hero. He's like a smart
Yeah.
archaeologist
No.
guy who, through like pure guile and luck, kind of happens to make scrap by. You know, he's not
Right.
a
Yeah,
competent
and-
parkourist, really, but you know.
Well, I
And
feel like
important to point out, Mike, huge backlash to his casting in this film. People thought he was too young, and people said, "Oh, baby Drake," and people assumed,
Drake.
"Oh, it's some sort of prequel," which is what we got.
well, this
Right.
yeah, it makes sense to age him down because it is an origin story of his character, basically. Like you have him meeting Sully, he's working as a bartender to begin with. He's not even adventuring at all. So it's really an origin story, and they were hoping to make more of these, which would be more kind of traditional Uncharted dynamic, I
Right.
guess. Which you
But
even see in
You
the
keep
end
saying
credits scene
hoping.
of this.
They
Yeah.
are going to make more of these.
I don't know. I don't know if
Sony
it made
doesn't
enough
make
money.
good decisions. They will. If they make a little bit of money on Spider-Verse 3, they'll be like, all right, fuck it, reinvest.
Yeah.
No,
Allocate.
yeah. It's funny because they do some of the origin stuff in the games. Like you do see the flashback with him and the brother, and I got you, and like they change a little bit of it. But like we've seen the prequel in the game, so I guess it's like, oh, we
Right.
have younger Drake right here, so we'll just do it. But I don't think his character is Nathan Drake to me. He's trying to do the one-liners, so it's like a, Jason Jake. It's not Nathan Drake.
Hey, I
really.
love that.
It's Jason Jake.
That is good.
It's just a generic action guy, right? But
Well, okay, so how about the other side then? Jacob. So we set up top, villain of the century, Mark Wahlberg. But let's dive into, because you were saying off podcast, like, we're putting in more effort than Mark Wahlberg does in this movie. The disaster, again, of this film, it's not just the chemistry. It's that it seems like Mark Wahlberg does not want to be in this film, right?
No, he's doing as little preparation or work as possible. He's just showing up as himself, Mark Wahlberg, saying his lines like Mark Wahlberg would say them. Like he's not acting. He's just being Mark Wahlberg in this movie, right?
Yeah,
which is most of his movies, I guess.
Yeah, he's bringing none of kind of the character of Sully, even a younger version,
Right.
And it literally feels like times where like they're like, all right, rolling, and someone feeds him the line, and then he just says
like he comes out of his trailer like 5 minutes before they're ready to shoot. And him and Tom Holland just have no chemistry. Like they're trying to do the one-liners and stuff, and it's just like, man, I don't feel like these guys are friends or know each other at all. They're just here for a paycheck.
I feel like they've never met.
Tom is trying. It's just the role isn't necessarily perfect for him, and then Mark Wahlberg is not even trying at all, so.
And I mean, like the whole like the cat thing, they're trying to make him like endearing, like, oh, I got you this cat and everything. I don't know, it just wasn't working.
My dad
double-crossed you and I got a cat now.
Yeah, my parents went to this movie, and my dad's only note was the cat wasn't in it long enough. So that was his biggest takeaway.
That is the good joke of the film. Now, Mike, what do you think of the lack of mustache, the one defining characteristic of the character Mark Wahlberg is playing, Victor Sully Sullivan?
That 100% speaks to the fact that he doesn't give a shit. Like, you could do a prosthetic one. It'd take 15 minutes to glue that sucker on every day, and he couldn't even do that. It's like it just shows that his irreverence for the material, and like, there's no respect.
Until the end credits scene, of course, where they're teasing that sequel that Colin thinks is going to get made, but I have my doubts.
Place your bets.
I'm positive. Jacob, as a man who primarily kind of has a mustache, you have a beard. It's just not as full on the beard part. You have a very
I can't really
mustache.
Grow facial hair very well, so I live with what I have. It's pretty patchy in the beard area, but I
Do
try.
you think that is Mark Wahlberg's issue? And what did you think of his mustache at the end of the film?
It's possible. And I mean, we don't even know if that's a real mustache or that could be, like you said, a glue-on. But again, like Sully, I mean, he has like gray hair, right? in the games.
Right.
Like he's older than Mark
Yeah.
Wahlberg.
He's an
But
old
I guess if it's an
man.
origin story, it makes sense. We're seeing the origin of his mustache, right?
The 10 years between the Kenobi show and New Hope really aged to Alec Guinness levels of gray. We're going to get that with Wahlberg.
Right.
He
and
goes to Tatooine.
It's a rough 10 years,
Right.
yeah. Those three sons will do it to you. The age of
But it
gray.
is very
origin of his
Solo, a
mustache.
Star Wars story where it's like we need to find out how he got his mustache, of course.
Right. But he'll do
Um,
it for one scene. Anyway,
Yeah.
not loving it. So,
But actually, that end
charisma.
credit scene, by the way, not to jump ahead to the end of the movie, but I
Yeah.
thought that was one of my favorite
cares?
scenes in the movie. Was
Yes,
that?
I agree with that.
Yeah.
Because it
So-
seemed just very controlled. It almost seemed like Mark Wahlberg was like, "Oh yeah, I remember being this character. I like doing this," and they're like, "You did?"
It feels like they have some semblance of chemistry in that scene, and it feels a lot
Yeah.
more Uncharted, Nathan Drakey to me than like the rest of this movie. So
It
maybe
would've
a
been better
sequel would be
opening
better.
sequence. If this was how you start, and then you
Yeah.
flash back, like you know how we start in media res, and then we go back. It's kind of set up like that. If it starts with him and Sully on an adventure with a mustache, and then we get to that.
No, instead it
Oh,
starts
my-
with him
that
falling
would
out
be
of an
great.
airplane.
Yeah.
Right?
Yes.
Which is,
Let's get
uh,
into it.
So yeah, we're structuring it similar to the games. A lot of them open with a big action set piece, and they're trying to show you, whoa, bombastic! Look at all this crazy action that's Uncharted. Uncharted, what is it? It's nothing but action. Apparently, it's not characters. It's not character chemistry or development or
No.
storytelling. It's big action.
And this set piece in particular, the things falling out of the plane
Airplane.
and him jumping from like thing to thing, like that was very heavily marketed, like in the trailers and stuff.
Yes.
They're like, oh, this
It was
is
the
going to be
poster.
amazing. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And it's the first scene we see, and it kind of has a cut that I like where it cuts back to his childhood and he's like falling from a window or something, right? It's kind of like a match cut. That's cool.
Yes, it
From
does
the
have a really cool
flashback
cut.
scenes. That's
Yeah.
in the
Yeah.
games, and Uncharted 3, I
I
think,
do-
also has that airplane.
I do want to point out the CGI of it all to start out. And I got to say, guys, I love when we talk Sony movies because there are times where I was watching this where I just full on just got up and went and used the bathroom. Like, didn't pause it. So, listeners, we're going to that energy. But real quick, in the opening scene, it's, you know, like the depth of field, like everything is CGI. They're on CGI crates, CGI background. You imagine that, like, Tom Holland's on wires or whatever, right?
Sure.
A bad guy throws something at him. Tom Holland ducks away. He goes off screen to the right. And then we look down and see that it's like, I mean, it's like a chasm. Like it is like you would have to like be able to fly to climb up these like falling barrels, right?
Mhm.
He then gets like a tap on his shoulder and he is behind the guy. He went off screen and came out on the other side of the screen
course.
like a goddamn, like a video
You
game.
did a
character.
Spider-Man move, probably.
Yeah.
Yes.
It hit 5 o'clock at the post house, and the editor just went home.
Yeah.
That'll do.
No, this whole scene, I mean,
It's
the
incredible.
physics of this scene are just like, you know, not based in reality, but
No, here's what I'm thinking. I'm watching this movie, and it gets bigger and more bombastic from here. You think this is the peak, just you wait. But it's
No.
like it's less realistic than the Fast and the Furious 10.
yeah.
Like that's how.
Or it has the
that's how
same
far
rules
we've
of like
Yes.
physics where they're like, oh,
And-
these people are
but
superheroes
here's-
and can do anything and won't
But
die.
this is even less.
Here's
grounded.
the thing, though.
Yeah.
Your brain, Mike, flips a switch when you watch Fast and Furious 10 because you're like, I don't know anything about Fast and Furious. It is what's being presented to me. And like
Mhm.
the CGI messages, your brain eats that because you're like, this is what it is. The issue with adapting these video games, I think, into live action stuff when they're this CGI heavy is your brain goes, oh yeah, this is a video game. I'm watching the video game right now. Why do I give a shit? Like, why didn't you do this practically or in some sort of like interesting way to make yourself different than the video game?
I mean, honestly, yeah. If you're approaching an Uncharted, like if you were asking me, I would try to do as much practical stunt work as I could, like Fury Road. Even if you're not having them hanging out of boxes on an airplane, but like you could have, you could do it more real.
You're racing wires. Yeah.
You're 5
yes,
feet
yes,
off the
I see what you're
ground.
saying.
There's a green pad under
Yes.
you, but you're actually jumping on boxes and do as much as you can. But
Right.
this just looks terrible. And then you feel no energy because in the game you're playing it and you're like, oh shit. And this, you're just watching Tom Holland appear and disappear.
Yeah. I will say just
Yeah.
Tom Holland, like I said, he's not a great actor, but I do think he's a good physical actor in that I just think he can move very gracefully and he can do all the parkour and stuff. So these scenes are, I think, where I find him is at his best when he's doing these big action scenes.
Jacob, I think the thread between Spider-Man and this character, literally what you're saying is he's very good when he has to dodge something, turn to the camera and say, "Whoa." Like that is
Yeah.
Tom Holland's strength as an actor.
Right, which is
Yeah.
why he works so well as Spider-Man. But yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I guess
Well, you
let's
get a
talk
little bit
about-
of
His brother
yeah.
pulls him up. They go into this museum. We get this flashback scene that's like, "What? Tell me again what our last name is." Our last name is Drake because we're related to Sir Francis Drake, the man who was the first person to sail around the world for treasure.
right.
right. Yeah,
And
pirate
I do want to
blood.
mention, of course, this is going for a Indiana Jones in the modern day kind of thing. But, and since you mentioned this, I'm comparing it to, we already have an Indiana Jones in the modern day. And his name is Benjamin Franklin Gates, played by one Nicolas Cage in the movie National Treasure. So
Bro.
I'm basically comparing everything in this movie to National Treasure, which I think is a far superior film and even has the name thing where he's like, I was named after Benjamin Franklin because of we're related to
It's
Benjamin
the
Franklin.
same opening
Well, no,
scene.
and we
You're
have
right.
we have a mentor mentee and the female companion. It's the same.
Yes.
Same core three characters.
Right.
Well, here's what I want to say about that, and I maybe already have on our One Piece episode, which I'm allowed to say because it has come out in
It
time.
has
It's not a
absolutely
flat
come
zone.
out
Right.
last week.
Of course. I remember talking
I
about that.
think
Pirates.
a lot of things have been leaning on, and I definitely brought up in that episode One Piece following the Cowboy Bebop formula, which this film does as well, which is what if our triangle is aloof, likable lead, serious, gruff support, third is a woman, and you're not sure whose side she's on. And you're like, but that's her whole character trait? And they're like, that's her whole character trait. Which is
Yeah.
pretty much
At
what
some
all that
point,
other
she
stuff
might
is
betray
too.
you. Yeah.
Dial of Destiny.
And then
Yes.
even the villain, so like in Sean Bean in National Treasure, that's just Tati Gabrielle in this movie, the female version of him,
Yes.
who's like a former accomplice of Mark Wahlberg, but then betrays him and kills people and is bad
Yes.
and stuff. So
Jacob.
Wow. I'm
Jacob,
also-
this is shameless.
There's
Yeah,
degrees
National
of Mission
Treasure, just watch
Impossible here
that.
too.
yeah.
Like a
Yes.
similar
Oh yeah, yeah.
backstabbing,
Sure.
stealing stuff. And even when
Yes.
Tom Holland's kind of like on the airplane thing, he finally gets on the plane and then the car comes. Like, are you kidding me? Like Ethan Hunt would sell
Very
that so
Ethan
much
Hunt.
better.
Yeah.
You know, that moment, with the car coming at him.
Yeah,
Sorry.
Ilsa Faust is the woman that you don't know what
Yeah.
side she's on.
Yeah.
yeah. Totally.
So something like that. And then we had Jesus. Anyway. Uncharted, a completely original concept. Yeah, so we do the heist.
So
It
easy
sets
to
us
write
up. So
movies
they
now,
want us
guys.
to they want us to
Yes.
build up to this big action sequence. So we go back in time. We're going to do the whole origin, but it really is a paint by numbers action heist story. Like it's paint
Yeah.
by numbers. It really
The
Yes.
is.
important thing about the flashbacks is you learn that he has an older brother who he kind of idolizes. His brother goes adventuring and stuff and kind of disappears.
Well,
and he's
Jacob,
writing
no.
these
They're
postcards.
raised in an orphanage from the 1940s where,
Right.
like, if you're caught stealing a can of beans, they're like, well, then you have to go to juvie and be given the electric chair. And
That's right.
this kid is like, well, no, I'm just going to
Also
go, like,
based
live on the
on-
streets.
Based
Yeah,
on
he
Tom
leaves.
Holland's age and this kid, it had to be only like 10 years at most this flashback takes place because like he's a kid, but like he's probably like
5'3".
yeah, I mean, so it's interesting. But basically his brother goes off adventuring, he's writing these postcards and stuff, and then at some point disappears or loses contact with Nathan Drake, who just wants to
Yes.
find his brother. And that's kind of the hook that Sully, gives him, that he's like, oh,
Yes.
you knew my brother and stuff
Now-
once they meet. Yeah.
Yeah.
Jacob, we're introduced to our hero Nathan Drake. He's in a bar mixing cocktails, and he is, of course, pointing out that the Declaration of Independence was written by. Oh wait, no, I'm sorry, that's our other character, Benjamin Gates. No,
Yes,
instead, Nathan Drake is just reciting, of course, the history of the Negroni, the drink he's making, and then
Sparkling
later
Yes.
making up, funny things about cigarettes. But he's being so endearing. He's saying things to his coworkers like, "How'd that date go last night?" And she's like, "Oh, went great, Nathan. Thanks for asking." He's like, "Hey,
He's a nice guy. Yeah.
Yeah.
You're likable,
But he's
Nathan.
he's so
also-
likable."
Mhm.
Right, but he's also a pickpocket, right? So he's conning
That's
this trust fund girl who he's making a drink for, and she's kind of like mean and rich to him, and then later he steals
Hey,
her bracelet.
Smart to pick that mock. When I saw you comes in and you did that mock, it was smart what you did there.
That
I
mock,
who are you?
I'm mocking. I'm smart too.
I'm smart mock. That's what they call me.
Yeah. So at first he's like very against
He meets Sully.
Sully. He's like, obviously Sully's trying to play me. Sully's a con man of his own kind of, and a con man can tell another con man, right? So he's suspicious of Sully. And he's like, man,
game.
yeah, I don't want any part of this. But then when he finds out that Sully knew his brother and has this map of Magellan and all this stuff, he's like, well, okay, maybe I'll tag along.
Maybe we'll adventure. Yeah. Yeah. Man, just the whole bracelet. Oh yeah, that's right.
Boy.
We need to. There's also a very key story element that's going to keep coming up. This lighter. There's a lighter, and it never works, but it always works. But it never works. So just remember
you need a new
exists.
lighter there, Mike. No, I don't.
This
old
is my
thing?
favorite lighter.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So just
The
remember
only
that
gift
lighter.
I
It's
have
really
from
important.
Sam.
Yeah.
Hey, your brother Sam, does he still do that thing where he's a young guy who's older than you? You do know my brother.
Yeah. Oh gosh. He was
It's
like
yeah.
in
But
before you,
also
right?
Sully's being very
it's
like
nothing.
he's being very kind of weird about Sam, like not giving him the whole truth and that kind of thing. So as we come to find out, like, maybe Sully's not on the up and up. But first, so they have this whole heist where they have to infiltrate this company that Antonio Banderas is the head of.
There's
to,
an
like, steal this
auction going
thing.
up for
Yeah.
a part. Get this, guys. We've never talked
One
about this
part
on
of
this
a-
podcast before.
Oh yeah.
Golden crucifix formed keys that is actually split down the middle, and once you put them together activates a deadly AI or something.
Wow.
The
You're right. So
entity?
maybe Mission Impossible stole from this the 2 Golden Cross keys, but yeah.
Yeah. But they
We
just
have
did
one
it
of them.
better.
I forgive National Treasure because obviously this film robbed it. But let me just say, Mission Impossible, shame on you. If you're sharing any details with this garbage piece of shit film, you should be fucking embarrassed.
Right. Well, and like we said, it's the summer of MacGuffins where there's 2 pieces and we have 1 piece. We got to find the second piece. That was like Transformers. Like everything has 2 pieces now. I don't understand why, but
And thank
double
God
the
we have
MacGuffins.
like last week. That
What
only
was
has
it?
one
Oh, yes.
piece. Thank
Yeah.
God. We get
One
back to
piece,
one
That's
piece.
exactly.
right. That's right.
So
Stop
thank God
splitting
that
Not
it
two
down
happened.
the
pieces.
middle.
No, just
Um,
Get
one
into
piece.
one piece.
Lesson learned, Hollywood.
That's a bad.
We're done. We're done with 2 pieces.
yeah.
But
But
Banderas
I'll
has
just say,
it. They want to swipe it
yeah.
before the auction happens, or he's auctioning to get it anyway.
Yeah. So we meet Antonio Banderas as the head of this company. We meet Tati Gabrielle.
Well, hold
as
on.
Yeah.
Have
I'm
we
just
ever talked about
introducing all our
Antonio
favorite
Banderas and Treasure before? And no,
Oh,
certainly
like with
not.
an Indiana
Oh.
Jones type of
Yeah.
guy.
Wow. So he had
Wow.
warmed up for that role with this. He's
Yeah.
honestly
I
pretty
mean,
okay.
Harrison, of course I'll come do it. Wasn't I in the first one? They're like, no, these aren't those films. He's
That
like,
wasn't
no,
a
I'm pretty
sequel?
Sure, I die.
But you see,
Yeah.
he's a good guy in Indiana Jones. In here, he's a bad guy, so
That's
it's
right.
different.
Uh,
Also, he's
Yes.
barely in this movie and dies like
He's
halfway
barely in
through.
Indiana Jones.
That's
He
true.
dies
And he
halfway
dies
through
halfway
Indiana Jones.
Okay, you're right.
so it is the same
You're right.
movies. This inspired a lot.
What is going on?
Why are people
What is
taking
going on
notes
with
from
Antonio
this?
Wow.
Banderas? His career now is handsome guy who shows up and gets murdered. I don't like that.
Hey, maybe he's just taking these paycheck roles. I mean, he's
I
probably
work for
doing all
2
right.
days.
So, yeah.
We're gonna revive Zorro. Don't worry. Hollywood's out of
I
ideas.
wish. I wish.
You still got Puss in Boots, right?
Ah, yes.
Yeah, dog. Yes, and he's so good at it.
I'm sure he's got plenty of Puss in Boots money. So
Yeah.
he shows up, shoots a couple scenes, takes a paycheck. I mean, you know,
Yeah.
there's worse ways to live, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. But they're doing a heist. We have to get the thing before they auction it off, or we're screwed. So they're trying to heist it. Things are going wrong. We got to improvise this and that. Hey, kid, what's going on with the thing? Working on it. Stop asking me. That happens a lot in this movie. What's going on? Can you
Whoa.
shut up? Like,
Yeah.
stop.
There's a lot of again to Tom Holland trying to appear older. There's a lot of him in the car chewing gum and not listening when people are talking to him. That I'm like, I don't like this. This is a very interesting personality to have.
Right.
And did he quit smoking? Is that the point? What's the gum about? What's this? I don't know. Keep it.
I don't know.
I don't know.
What
He has a
implying
lighter,
he's
but he doesn't
lived.
smoke. So
Right.
Yeah.
And he does interact with the other adults in the room, let's say. Like when these guards and stuff are coming, it feels like Spider-Man's getting caught. It doesn't feel like two adults are in a confrontation.
It's Spider-Man talking to henchmen. Oh, you're like a Scottish guy. I can't understand what you're saying. Okay.
The second best joke in the movie after the cat.
Sure.
Yeah, true. Because I couldn't understand either, even with the subtitles.
And we jump past when he is preparing for this heist. We see his douchebag loft apartment. His like, I sketch out the maps. I do pull-ups all day and get more and more fit. Oh, but there was one other thing you wanted me to buy you for the heist. What about this cat? Oh, that cat? That's a gift for you, Sully, because you're a dumbass piece of shit. And the reason I wanted to point this out is Mark Wahlberg, who probably improvised this line and has probably never been around a cat in his life, says, but this cat's gonna shit on my floor. Something cats notoriously do not do.
Right.
Yeah, just give him a litter box.
Anywhere but in a box.
I do like the...
Yes, you get a dog, you go, this dog's gonna shit on my floor. You don't say that about a cat.
He doesn't know the difference.
The arc of this joke where the joke is like he grows to like the cat, and like by the end of it he's like he's a cat owner.
Everywhere I go.
Comes everywhere.
Mr. Whiskers and I go. Yeah. You're like, Jesus
truly
Christ.
That is the best joke in
he
this
was
movie.
late to the heist because it takes longer to get a cat permission to travel internationally.
Do you know you had to fill out a form?
Yeah, that actually is funny. Actually, maybe I'm delusional.
Again, I like that end credit scene
better
better
than
than
was over.
Any other scene in this movie.
He seems maybe it's Mark Wahlberg's cat. Maybe I'm wrong. He seems actually energized to do that scene because he seems to like having the cat.
They gifted him the cat after rap. 3 months later, like, hey, can we do a pickup for this post cred? And he's a completely different man.
Yeah, I'll bring the cat.
Yeah. Oh, you giving me Mr. Whiskers? Okay. Christ be with you. Mark Wahlberg is also super religious and has pivoted to saying he only does films with strong religious elements. Do you think that's why the cross key is in this movie? And all the
I think
men
that ties
talk?
into, they're trying to tie it into history with Magellan and all that. So there's a lot of religious connotations because they were very, Catholic and religious.
We're doing
back then
things on
too.
behalf of the church, gonna go gather treasures.
Yeah, which I like that element of, the history thing. Like that's a big part of National Treasure too, even though I think it's done better in there where you're learning American history while they're
It wasn't
adventuring.
actually him that finished the trip. It was one of his first mates that took the boat around the way. And it's like, that's real history and that's neat. It doesn't, it feels like so dry here, even compared to National Treasure, but like they're trying to do that.
Right. But by
Jacob,
the way, Colin,
what do you... go ahead.
Well,
please.
just about Mark Wahlberg being very religious. It's funny because I think Mark Wahlberg is a guy who maybe had one good performance in his whole career, which was in the movie Boogie Nights, which he maybe did by accident, and has since disavowed his performance in that because it's
completely
too raunchy for him now. So he also has
he
like
says
a crazy...
it was the wrong thing to do.
Yeah,
wow,
that's your best role, man. That's the best role in your whole career.
Yes.
You can't disavow that.
Wow.
But he also has this crazy schedule, right? Have you seen his schedule where he wakes up at like 5:30 in the morning, works
Wahlberg
out,
time.
prays, works out again, has a snack, insane person.
Did we bring this up on
That's
Transformers? Mike,
behavior.
have you ever had a...
Yeah.
It is. Have you ever had a Wahlburger, Mike?
No. What? No, he has a franchise, right? No, I'm
Wahlburgers.
That's his restaurant chain. Yeah, that
The
I think
Wahlberg
maybe
brothers.
Donnie runs now.
I'm pretty sure.
I don't
I think
know.
there's some other Wahlberg
Never
brothers,
once.
even aside from Donnie, that are like even less famous. But
yes,
it's a family run.
So last question. I promise we will get back to the topic of this podcast. But Jacob, when you were listing off like, well, National Treasure, you're learning history. In my mind, I was like, oh, what if there was one of these franchises where you learn religion? That would be so dumb. There is. What do you think of the Angels and Demons? What are those called? Do you like those movies, Jacob?
Da Vinci Code. Yeah.
The Da Vinci Code. I could not remember what the fuck
that was the first
called.
one.
Demons, the second one.
Angels and Demons.
Yes.
They're both based off Dan Brown novel.
Inferno.
There's a third,
Yes.
All starring Tom Hanks with an insane haircut where he has like this long, stringy haircut. Based on the Dan Brown novels, of course, which were I actually read the Da Vinci Code book because it was so popular back in the day when it came out. My dad got it because my dad kind of reads those kind of action adventure kind of novels.
Beach
reads.
So
he's like, you gotta check.
That's a beach read.
Yeah, they're airport books, right? You buy them in the airport, read them on the plane.
Perfect.
And it's not a bad book. It's sort of paced like an action adventure movie, so it makes sense that they would adapt it. But a lot of religious stuff in there, pretty interesting. But it's a lot of like I don't even know, like conspiracies, right? Like
Yes.
Illuminati and stuff, right? So
Yeah.
it's not all true.
He's lucky
but-
he stopped writing those books before QAnon started, because they would have
Right.
gotten very weird.
I wonder if
Like,
those
we have
books
to
never
raid the
existed.
Capitol.
Yeah.
Clue. Yeah, we'd be a better country if they were, Mike.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, this is pretty much doing everything that those other movies we've talked about does, just worse. Like even this heist scene, like I don't know if everyone catches this, but Tom Holland's fighting the guys and he jumps onto the lights that are hanging from the ceiling.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, this is the worst Police Story reference I've ever seen in my life.
Right.
When
But
Jackie
again, I
Chan
liked
famously
him
goes down, and it's like, what the hell?
doing the parkour and stuff. Like he's good at doing that. It's not
But
well
it feels like
shot
Spider-Man.
and stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, he's good at it, but again, he feels like a child versus an adult. I'd never buy him as like an equal.
Yeah. Totally. He's no Jackie Chan.
He lands the moves, but he
Yeah.
just physically doesn't have the right build for a Nathan Drake in my mind. I know it's a prequel, but
Right.
it doesn't
And
work.
Well, what? He's gonna grow a foot, Mike?
Just hire shorter
he's like a
stuntmen.
little baby.
Well, I think that's
Yeah.
the uncanny valley of it all, because he has like a petite frame, like I said, but he's also like strangely muscular, like in this movie. Like he's very ripped.
He has
for,
cum
like, a
gutters.
thin
He
guy.
has fucking yes. Like,
Jesus
Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, he's definitely ripped. He's just very thin. Like he's a thin, muscular guy, and it just
How
looks
tall
weird.
is
And he's
he
got this
really?
baby face on this body, and it looks like someone put his face on someone else's body to me. Sometimes it's very
Mike, I'm
strange.
saying 5'4". What?
5'4". How tall, Jacob?
He's a short king. I think he's 5'4". That's pretty short. I don't know, maybe like 5'8".
5'7". 5'7".
But if that's what he's writing, he's 5'5".
Yeah.
Yeah, he gets
Yeah.
platform heels.
He's just as tall as Tom Cruise. Now let's see. Look at that. Look at what they could do with little camera trickery and a little bit of a bigger suit.
Well, he doesn't run like Tom Cruise. No one runs
dude.
like Tom Cruise.
Nathan Drake
No.
would.
Now, but you bring up a very interesting comparison, because obviously we were talking Palm Clemente as Paris very recently in Dead Reckoning. Now, in this heist, we get the introduction of, I'm sorry, what do you keep saying her name is, Jacob?
Tati Gabrielle. I only
Tati
know her
Gabrielle.
from, she was in the show You, the show about like that serial killer You.
Oh,
She was in the 3rd season of You. So if you've watched that show,
she's
like
she's
the
on my
librarian.
Sabrina Netflix show, so she must be on a lot of
Yeah.
Netflix stuff.
Yeah, she's like a Netflix TV actress. Like,
And if I
she
could
hasn't been that much big stuff. Yeah.
And to interject your comparison to the Palm Clemente Paris character, Palm is also 5'7".
A female heavy, Mike.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
A lot of
Well,
5'7" happening. Zoe Saldana, I'm seeing here. I don't know. A lot
Yeah.
of 5'7" in our sphere right
oh,
now.
interesting. Okay.
Anyway,
Um,
that's our secret number.
but Tati Gabrielle, to compare her to Paris, I think she's much worse than Paris
Mhm.
because she's so like she was one of the weakest parts of the movie for me, because she's supposed to be this like
She is
villainous badass,
bad.
but she comes off as so unconvincing as like an evil bad person. And I'm just like, I can't take you seriously. Like, you're threatening to kill people. Like, you slit Antonio Banderas' throat at one point, but I just don't believe you as like this badass.
Now-
like,
Yep.
Again, we covered this in One Piece last week,
Yeah.
where there's this very toxic male positivity speech where a young woman says, I might be better at something than you are now, but you'll eventually be better than me because you're a man, and men will always be stronger than women. Where then the male character goes like, no, that's dumb. Shut
Right.
up. I like that.
Yeah,
And
good message.
yeah,
It's an
That is dumb.
interesting thing to filter in your brain, because it's something that movies have shifted towards, where you do usually now get the female heavy. Typically, like in John Wick Chapter 2 and Palm Clementi's case in Dead Reckoning Part 1, they usually have the trait of them being silent. I don't like that. I don't think they need to be quiet. I like that Tati speaks in this film.
yeah.
But it is something where you have to go like, do you believe that this person in a one-on-one fist fight could go up against Alan Richardson as Jack Reacher? You know what I mean? Like a guy
Right.
who is like truly a monster. And I think it always comes down to creative filmmaking, and this film lacks the interesting filmmaking that would support it.
And again, I think her age is what throws me, because she's
He's
supposed to be
so young.
yeah, she's supposed to be an accomplice of Sully's, that they go back. She's like
Yeah.
what, 27, I'm guessing. Like she's like the same age as Tom Holland. So I'm supposed to believe she
Sully,
has all this
remember when we
experience and
dated?
stuff.
I'm like, no, he's your father. Like
This is
that's
way
the
more Indiana
reveal.
Jones than I realized.
So I don't believe she has the
Yes.
experience, and I don't believe that she
No.
is as villainous as she's trying to come across, I guess.
It's almost like none
Sorry
of the
to-
casting matches the characters that they're supposed to be portraying.
Yeah.
Except the
And I don't
Scottish
know
guy.
if this is a character from the games. I'm assuming that it is. Joe Braddock, I think is her name. I'm
I
assuming
would
she's some kind of
assume
side
not,
character.
honestly.
Mm.
Can I be honest with you? I think there are references here and there, but the coolest game thing that this movie has going for it is, and you brought this up in the intro, Jacob, the PlayStation movies like bumper or banner that starts this, where I go like, oh, cool, it's Kratos and stuff.
Yeah.
Where I'm
Oh,
like,
they have all
wow, I
these
love
cool
all these
IP,
games.
yeah.
Yeah.
Horizon Zero Dawn, sure.
Sure, there it is. Great.
Right.
There's no
Um,
way, Mike.
It seems like character was created for the movie and might have ended up in a game.
Yes.
Not, yeah.
Okay, I know Chloe is
Oh,
from
okay.
the game.
Chloe is from the
other
games.
female character.
Yes.
This thing first appeared in the live action film, and I'm too lazy
And
to read
Antonio
if she showed up.
Banderas' character, is he
No,
from
he's
the
same
games?
thing. Both introduced
Okay.
here. Yeah.
Interesting.
So
Because
our
they
This
couldn't
is
have
maybe
just-
just a total original mystery, I think, of a
I guess it would have
blending
been
of multiple
too
ones.
easy to just adapt the plot of one of the games into a movie. They had to make a whole original plot.
Yeah, I would have done the second game because
I love when people say that. Is
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
true?
Yeah.
Do these get Indiana Jonesy? Do these get a little magic-y, this franchise?
Some of them do. Some
Or
of them do. Like,
supernatural?
you end up, like I said in the second game, up in the Himalayas, and that you have boss fights against Yetis and stuff.
Mm.
So there is
That's
a little
cool,
bit of,
dude.
Well, everyone
that's
knows
like
Yetis
a
are real,
plausible
though.
lost species too. Like it is an Indiana Jones, like, oh, this hidden civilization still exists kind of stuff.
Hey,
Uh,
third, or not a third, it is the third movie in this franchise, but another franchise, Mummy, which of course Tomb of the Dragon Emperor has him fighting Yetis.
Yeah, no,
oh,
exactly.
sure, yeah.
Yeah, that came out, I believe, after the second
But
game.
Mummies, better movies than this movie.
Hey, look, I'll take
Mm-hmm.
Brendan Fraser's character. I don't even remember his name, but he's
Rick
better than
O'Connell.
Yeah, Joe would be
yes,
so
Rick
mad.
O'Connell. Look,
Remember where he says he's
Benjamin
related
Gates.
to Tom O'Connell, who invented the government?
Sure.
Like, oh, okay.
Invented the compass. I don't know. Yeah.
Yeah.
yeah, much better
Invented
adventure
mummies.
type movies. Once again, but
These are paint by numbers. Yeah. So
yeah,
heist happens. Do they get it? They get it. Yeah. There's a big mix-up. Then Tom Holland
they
gets
get
caught.
the cross.
Sully's like, "Sorry, buddy.
They-
I'll catch you later." And then they pick him up.
Yes.
Yes,
The first double cross, he's a little annoyed about this, but they do get this cross, Mike. The twist here is that Sully then says, remember when I told you earlier that I had the other cross? I lied. I'm in a business kind of like cucking relationship with this lady. We got to go see her. And this is where we are introduced to Chloe, who, of course,
Yes.
again, comes in with this hot energy of, you trust this asshole? Well, you know, I'll say this when you're off screen, but I bet you're Sam's brother, Sam Drake, the legendary Sam Drake's brother.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Well, obviously, you can't trust anyone in the adventuring, exploring business because they're all two-time and double crossing.
Right. Right.
Uh,
So she swipes the
I-
cross right out from under him. And
yeah, so they
dips.
go to Spain, right? And
Mhm.
they're like, we need to find this tomb to find this other thing.
This is a
and-
vacation tax write-off movie. They go to the Philippines. They go to Spain.
Yeah.
They're all over the place. Yeah.
You got to have those.
Yeah,
exotic
this is the
locales.
church scene where he has deciphered from a journal where Sam already knew it was a tree, but he points out that the tree is like a different symbol, that these 8 men who went back to seek Magellan's treasure left this clue for. We'll go to this church. The big clues are trust your fellow man, journey to heaven, journey to hell. And then we get them using the 2 keys to sort of turn a clockwork opening inside the church that
Yes.
reveals these pathways up and down.
Well, and they go to this church that's like turned into a nightclub, right? Because there's this nightclub scene where they
Yes.
have to like go behind the bar to like get
That's
the
when they
keyhole.
go
Secret
down.
passage.
He realizes
Okay.
that,
Goes
yeah.
to the nightclub,
Yeah.
And
They
when he
go
goes up,
down-
he realizes that it's been turned into a Papa John's.
Yes. So we have Mark Wahlberg running into a Papa John saying, I'm in a freaking Papa John's here. And then my
Incredible.
favorite part
I'm
of the
ordering
movie.
a freaking Papacito.
So he sees like the keyhole behind like some glass wall, and there's like there's like a couple sitting at a table, and he just comes up and says, "Excuse me," and just throws the table like across the room.
Yeah.
It just starts making this public scene
Now-
where he's like trying to break the glass. I'm just like, what if
Real
an
quick,
insane
Jacob.
man ran into a Papa John's and
Papa
started doing
John's.
this?
Papa John's, delivery or takeout pizza, not a sit-down restaurant. There's
Generally,
not
no.
people inside Papa John's. Garcon, one more pizza for the table. One more
Well,
Papa John's
We're
pizza.
underselling the popularity
Yeah.
of Papa John's in Barcelona or wherever.
Obviously,
yeah.
yeah. When you're
It's
in
very
Spain, you got to
fancy.
go to Papa John's.
Yeah.
Now,
I can only
when we
assume
did the
this was some kind of-
Ghostbusters,
Yeah,
Papa
product
John's.
placement type
Well,
stuff. Yeah.
so product placement, but specifically a Sony tie-in, Jacob. When we did the Ghostbusters episode and we talked about Lady Ghostbusters, we brought up
Right.
not only is there the famous scene, the fact that they are in New York where they go, let's order a pizza.
Get a
They
slice.
Papa,
Papa
John's,
John's.
which drives
Mhm.
Joe crazy. But also, if you recall, they were in a bunch of NBA Justin Lin commercials where he was like, "I'm a ghost, bust me, eat Papa John's, girls." It's like,
Sheesh.
what is this?
Did anybody bust out a Sony Vaio in this? I can't even remember.
I wish.
Boy, they must have.
They must
Someone
have,
busted
right?
out a PSP.
Sony TVs on the wall. Dude, someone's got a PSP in this. Dude, there has to be.
Yeah, or a PS Vita.
Anyway. Right. Oh my god.
Do you
I need to
think
see
Mark
that.
Wahlberg knows that Ruben Fleischer isn't Michael Bay? Do you think he walks up and goes, "Michael, how's it going, man? I'm so excited. We're doing great on Uncharted." And Ruben Fleischer's like, "What? Why does he keep calling me Mr. Bay and Michael?"
Mhm.
Probably, yeah.
He's only heard Michael Bay through
Remember
the
when we were
megaphone.
doing?
So he doesn't know what he looks like. He could presumably just be like, "Hey, it's
Remember when we
Michael."
made Pain
Remember
and
when we were
Gain?
doing Pain and Gain? Yeah. Remember when we were doing
With The
Pain and
Rock?
Gain, and then Optimus came out, and it's like those are not the same movie.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Wow. What a movie.
What product
Now I
placement
think this
indeed.
movie
This movie.
is great, of course, but I think it actually picks up in the second half of this movie a little bit. Like I think the
When
first half
they
is really
start
boring.
doing, but when they
Yeah.
start doing the stuff you like in this genre of film, yes, I agree. When they're doing like stuffed in crypts and like going through
Yeah.
clues, I'm like, yeah, I can watch this because I can watch
That's-
anything
yeah,
that does
Some
this.
B-level adventure movie type stuff. They're putting clues together. There's a
Mhm.
scene, and then of course their water is rising. They're drowning, and Mark Wahlberg has to put the key in the thing, but all of a sudden it's freaking Tati Gabrielle, whatever her name is,
Mhm.
attacking, and now he's got to fight her off, and you know
But we
that
get
scene's
more of this
okay, I
great
think.
banter. Like, could you hurry it up, Solly? And instead of saying,
I'm a little
"There's
busy."
a situation," he says, "Stop talking. I don't want to talk." It's like, there's no
gonna be a minute.
communication.
Yes.
Yeah,
No, there's no.
Tom Holland's
he
literally like-
cannot do lines, Mike.
Yeah, it's bad.
they're literally like, "We're going to drown if you do not."
It's
put
like,
that
"Not right
key in
now."
that thing." We're
Give me a
seconds
minute.
away from
We
drowning.
don't have a minute.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's like, I'm in the middle of something. I don't care if you got a minute. Yeah, it's so bad.
Gets the gun, pop, blows the glass, flips the thing. They get out, but they are double crossed by Chloe for the first time here.
Wow.
And Sully says, "I told you not to trust her." Trust her? What happened to my brother? She told me the thing. She told you the thing about your brother? Okay, well, let's go get the treasure still. No, I'm mad at you. Well, why? Because the thing about your brother? Okay, goodbye.
Yeah,
Mhm.
Mark
He's just
Wahlberg is
so
being
weirdly
very-
passive.
He's being
Yep.
very sketchy about his brother. Like, what
Just be
happened
nice
to
to
him?
me.
Yeah.
Mhm. You're mad that I betrayed your trust? Okay, whatever. Like, yes,
Whatever, I
I'm
don't
directly
care.
angry about that.
But are we going out?
Yes.
He's very Sundari, Mike.
Yeah. Oh man.
We're still going on our plane trip, right? You're not mad at me.
Right.
Right.
I
And of
don't
course,
like this.
Chloe betrays them, but then, they catch up to her or whatever. And
Some crosses get doubled.
Well, she
again.
teams up with the bad guys. She takes the cross to
Right.
Antonio Banderas and says, "I've been working for you the whole time." And he's like, "Now, with the
That's
power
right.
of Grayskull combined, oh, my vulnerable throat." And he gets his
yeah,
Mhm.
she's kind of a
Fucking
rival to Tati
throat
Gabriel.
slit in half. Yes.
So they all go on this big plane, right? And they're going to the Philippines.
That's where
to
the
find the
boats are.
treasure. Yeah. On the plane, of course, Tati Gabriel and her men all betray Antonio Banderas for reasons that are unclear to me. But
the
they,
minute she sniffs competition, the idea
Yeah.
that Antonio Banderas would like Chloe 1% more than her means everyone on this plane needs to die, which is
Mhm.
insane.
there's also this whole backstory with Antonio Banderas' character where his dad is like disappointed in him. it all leads to nothing because he literally
Boy.
dies like a couple scenes later. So I was like, why are they fleshing out this character that then is
true.
killed?
He's
I
like,
don't know.
it was our birthright to have this treasure. My dad didn't even believe in me, and now here I am with
You
the
didn't
opportunity to
believe.
make it all and dead.
Yeah, he could have been the main villain for the whole movie, but instead he just gets killed by his
He
own
could have his
henchman.
moment of triumph. At least let him be like,
henchwoman.
yes, finally I've achieved my dream of my lifeblood, and then she kills him. Like, give it some
Yeah.
dramatic effect here.
No, he's
Man.
killed on the plane on the way to the Philippines.
Yeah.
And of course, Nathan and Sully, our boys, are also know the location of the treasure, so they're on their way. Or they get on the plane. They somehow, right? I'm forgetting
Somehow
exactly.
they stow away.
They stow away
It
on
doesn't
the plane.
matter. This is what I'm in the bathroom.
We're
I'm
back
like,
to the-
Jacob, I'm looking at my phone at this point, and I'm thinking, like, I've got to do this dumb podcast later where I have to fucking talk about this stupid movie.
I
Yeah.
scroll to the time remaining, and I'm just baffled at this point. But we're back to the plane
Yes.
that we opened the movie on, where the cargo. We're gonna
Yes.
kind of build back up to this action scene of everything falling out of the cargo plane and climbing over boxes and all this and that.
And look, you know what? I didn't hate this scene. I think this is one of the more entertaining scenes in the movie. Like I said, I think it picks up from this point on. Like this and the pirate ship stuff at the end, like, is somewhat more engaging than the first half of the movie, which I thought was extremely boring. Yeah.
Mhm.
And you know what, Jacob? They really just write Chloe out after this scene, though. It really just becomes Nathan and Sully solve the mystery.
Well, they
which
have this
is,
whole scene
maybe
where
why
they
it works. I don't know.
they end up in the ocean. They swim to shore. It's like a resort. So Nathan and Chloe are
Yes.
staying at this resort. They're kind of bonding.
Real
They're
quick,
figuring stuff
real
out.
quick.
Yeah.
They walk out of the water, and a guy on a beach
Yes,
thing, Nolan
yes.
North,
Nolan
the voice
North.
actor for Nathan Drake, says, "What happened to you guys?" And they say, "We fell out of a car, out of an airplane." And he says, "The same thing happened to me." And they give him a weird look and keep walking. It's the
Sure.
dumbest moment ever.
Incredible.
Nice little
We got paid for that,
scene
though.
for the
speaking
fans of the
line.
games. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm sure he did.
They have the scene where they go up, they put it all on Sully's credit card or whatever. It's very funny.
That's right.
And they stay at this hotel.
Now I'll put it all together. My brother always used to give me postcards. Postcards must mean clues. Clue plus postcard equals. Oh, I got it. I got it. I figured it out. And you're like,
Right.
truly, I'm watching. I'm like, you figured what out? Like, hey, what are you even doing?
Secret
trying to figure this
messages
out.
on the postcard when you put a
But they're like
light behind
bonding
it.
at the same time. There's some romantic hints there. And then there's kind of a fake out where, she goes to sleep. He's staying up trying to figure this out. He finally figures it out while she's asleep. He passes out. He wakes up.
It's
she's
longitude,
gone.
latitude.
Mhm.
Surprise, surprise. She's betrayed him again. Except, double surprise, he knew that she was going to betray him. So he tricked her. And so now he knows where he's going and she doesn't. Blah, blah, blah.
So she's written out in that way, though. Yeah, she steals the
Yeah.
false coordinates.
She shows
and
up a
spends
little
the,
bit
the
later,
rest of the
but-
movie just kind of on a boat going the wrong
Yeah, she's
direction.
on a boat. Yeah.
Yeah,
Um,
away from the action, more or less.
Yeah. By the way, they're all in the Philippines now. I did want to mention this. I talked about it in the Barbie episode. This movie, like the Barbie movie, was banned in Philippines and Vietnam for the inclusion of the 9-dash line in the treasure map, which is
Wow.
the line that China says is what they own in the ocean, or like their borders
With
in the ocean.
contested, yeah,
that-
waters.
Vietnam and Philippines don't recognize. That's why the Barbie movie was banned there, and this movie was also banned. And it's very funny because it's obviously just a calculation of them saying, well, we care more about our Chinese audience. Having this line in here will bring us more money from the Chinese audience than the Philippines and the Vietnam.
And there
audience.
must be some like notes coming back from the film department, like in these governments, like put the line in versus take the line out, and they're
Oh,
just
yeah.
like, well, more people live
China
here.
money versus Vietnam and Philippines money. Yeah, what's going to
Ah,
win?
jeez.
That's all it
I
comes
just
down
didn't
to,
realize
right?
how many maps you see in movies. It's kind of astounding.
It's
Yeah,
crazy. I
yeah.
mean, the Barbie one is like literally one shot where she's standing in front of a map. It's not even a
Made by, like, a
realistic
toy.
looking map. Yeah,
Yeah.
No.
but it has that line
No.
there.
Sheesh.
It's just funny.
That's a rabbit hole to
Um,
go down, the origin of the
yeah.
9-dash line in film. But anyway, that's not for us to do. That's for Nathan Drake and Sully to figure out.
No,
The
I just find it
greatest-
funny
all
that this takes place
Yeah.
in the Philippines, but you can't watch this movie.
You can't watch it in the Philippines.
theaters.
Fascinating. Well, good
Yeah.
for
There's
them.
also a very positive Filipino comment at the end where one of the boats gets sunk and he says, "Should we go back for it?" And he goes, no, that's the Philippines government's treasure now. And he basically like gives like a thumbs up to the film where you're like, okay, yeah, great, cool.
Well, that's
I love
theirs,
the
sure.
Philippines too, man.
Yeah,
That's
dog.
great.
Hell yeah.
Hey, we're not like treasure hunters. It's not like we can steal it or anything. But
Right.
so they're all, they're trying to
got
find
2
this
boats.
Magellan's treasure. They know the location of the boat.
Sounds like you restarted the podcast. So they're trying to find Magellan's treasure, I guess, is the plot of this movie.
I think the important thing to say is they find the boat, they find the treasure, and then a helicopter
Yes.
lifts the boats from the water to the air.
Yes.
That's
Well,
really
they find
what's
the
important.
boat.
Tom Holland's very mad that Sam is not there. He really, I guess, had this fantasy in his mind that his brother would be waiting for him on the boat. He lifts up these facades and goes like, the treasure's right here. I don't fucking care about it. And Sully's like,
But by this
oh,
time,
treasure, wow, oh my God.
didn't they told him like his brother died, right? Or that Chloe told him that? Or am I
Yes,
remembering
but
that wrong?
Jacob, the voiceover line that we get of the brother from the opening where he says, maybe Magellan's like our parents, where it's not gone, it's just lost.
Oh,
So
yeah.
when they find these boats and he realizes Sam isn't there, he hears his brother say, gone, not lost, or something like
If
that. And
it's
you're like,
lost,
so
it
in
can
his
be
mind, like,
found.
yes.
But why would he
yes,
think his brother is on
assumed
this
he would
pirate
still.
ship?
I don't
Yeah.
assume he thought he was a ghost. I just think Nathan Drake's a moron. You know, when
Yeah.
the way that he comes off in this movie and the way that people treat him, where he just spouts out random facts, are going like, wow, you knew how a Negroni was made.
impressive.
That's
Yeah.
really impressive, Nathan. He's like, they do it like he's like a Rain Man. He's like shaking and going like, they do it like this, they make it like this. They're like,
Yeah.
wow, you know a lot of facts, Nathan. That's
Which
so
is kind of-
cool.
Again, like Benjamin Gates in my favorite movie, National Treasure, who knows all these American history.
We should have done
Yeah.
National Treasure, to be fair.
We
Have
should do
we
that,
done
yeah.
those? That might be good for our long form because that's just 2. That's like we will never talk the series.
The show, of course,
No.
Book of Secrets.
Mm-mm.
Or is
No,
that the
never.
second movie?
That's the second one.
That's
Yeah.
right. No, I would love to do every adventure explorer type movie that exists.
Mummy
and
at least
compare
would
it to
get to
this.
happen. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
I told you guys I like
Just
the
to put it at the-
Tintin Spielberg film.
Right.
Sure.
I think if we do every one of these genres, all it means is we can just keep pushing Uncharted further to the bottom of the list. The more we watch,
Right.
we can just letterbox it straight to the grave.
Yes.
Right.
Build on
Yes.
top of it, bury the body.
But they all end
Indiana
up in this cove where this boat is
Nathan
hidden.
fake.
Somehow I think they know where the location
good,
is.
Mike.
Tati, Gabrielle, and the henchmen don't know the location because they have like half of the clues or something. But of course they find it because basically Nathan and Sully lead them to this because they see them going that way. So like, oh, we're
Right.
going the wrong way. So
which,
they're
if you
hiding on
recall,
this
was a
boat,
plot
right?
point in Indiana Jones where he goes, but you told us to go
Yes.
to the left and you're swimming to the right after them.
Mhm.
Yes,
It's like,
right after they
okay,
kill
great.
Antonio Banderas, just like
Yeah,
this movie.
That's right.
So they all meet up on this boat. They're hiding on this boat because they got there first. The henchmen get on the boat, right? They're like trying to hide. Chloe is on a jet boat that she rented, it just going the wrong way, maybe.
He gave her the wrong latitude, longitude.
That's right.
So they have been separate, and she's just
Yeah.
out of this movie. She is done for this.
Yeah,
Mhm.
I think she shows up at the end, but
The
basically
very
she's-
end, but she has nothing to do
her
in the action
importance.
scene.
Yeah, her importance to this movie is over.
Mhm.
And then there's this big scene where they're lifting these boats up with helicopters, and then there's probably my favorite action set piece of the movie, which is them fighting on these boats as they're flying through the sky, being carried by helicopters.
But again,
So video game.
level of-
Yeah,
yeah, a level of suspension of disbelief beyond even Fast and the Furious. One helicopter per boat that is waterlogged, laden with treasure, not going to
Some strong
disintegrate when
helicopters.
you lift it out of the water. Like it's
yeah,
all of it's baffling. But there are some imaginative ideas, but it's a CG crazy fest too at the same time.
yeah. But just the idea.
Well,
of like,
and can I just say real quick?
It's the most interesting sequence in the
here's
film.
the level.
yeah,
Yes, maybe, but
Low
here's
bar.
the level of writing we're dealing with too. Hey, Sully, what's your backstory? I was a helicopter pilot, and then I did bad things. Oh, Sully, we're going down. We need somebody to fly the helicopter. Oh, it feels like riding a bike. Woo, here we go. Like that
Yeah.
is like that. He speaks at that level of energy.
And of course, he has this thing where he's taken some of the treasure, put it in a backpack just in case they lose the boats. And he's got a last crusade moment where he has to decide between saving the treasure and saving Nathan.
Solely leave it.
Yeah. So he's got to, he's got to
Leave
be
it, Junior.
well, maybe Nathan's more important than these material things.
Yeah. Wow.
And then there's big action scenes on the boats, fighting. Tati Gabrielle is killed. The rest of the henchmen are killed.
No.
And
No, they keep her alive. They're just like
she didn't
No,
die.
a boat lands on top of her. She is crushed by the weight of
think
her
she's
own
dead,
ambition.
yeah.
It's
I'm so,
poetic.
but so like Tom Holland's like, don't kill her. He gives her like a basically a parachute, drops her into the water, and then she looks up and gets crushed by a boat. I apologize. You
Yeah,
guys are
that's right.
It is
Well, he's being
brutal.
far too nice to this lady who's killed multiple people already in this
Yes.
movie.
Try to kill him.
Yeah.
We shoot a cannon. Oh, and this is that lighter that I
Yeah.
said was so important. That lighter that never
That's
lights
right.
when he
That's
needs
right.
it most.
Chekhov's lighter.
But they don't even show a close of it. Like when it finally lights, he just they don't even
No.
show this triumphant moment. It's like it's so
Yeah.
incompetent in how they tried to make this lighter a thing. I hate it, but he shoots it.
I like to think
It seems
It's the
reshot.
spirit of his brother lighting this lighter.
Yeah, but like
Yeah.
show an engravement like to
Yeah.
my younger brother from older brother. Like
Click,
stay
click,
lit,
click, click,
fam.
click.
Yeah.
No, it's all very formulaic.
Stay lit, fam.
But I did think this, like I said, this set piece is more engaging than anything else prior to this in the movie to me. Like it's an interesting idea of like, oh, these boats flying through the sky. They're going to be shooting cannons like it's a real it's a boat fight, but they're in the sky. Like it's an interesting idea,
There's something fascinating about that. And we've seen a lot of stylized boat fighting over the last episode too, with the single piece,
Yes.
But to see it
There's
in the air is
singles.
neato.
Right.
Yeah.
They're swinging through the, on
Yes.
the ropes and stuff. Like that's fun.
Yeah.
Pirates. We love
and
pirates.
so here's the ending. So Nathan gets pulled up into the helicopter, and basically they're like, "Wow, can you believe this?" And we do not cut to anybody else. We're like, this movie is like, end it as fast as you can. Just have our two lead characters be like, "What an adventure we went on!" To go, yeah, we still have a little bit of treasure. This is great. Now, if you're like me, because this is a short podcast, because this is a short movie, it turns out, even though it's a little long. But truly, I'm going like, wow, that's it. And I hit pause and I go, 11 minutes of credits? What is going on here? And you have to hit play and let it roll as it just realizes the movie isn't over. As this film limps to the finish line going like, look, we know we just told you it's over, but like fucking here you go. Here's more shit. We don't care. And you get these two other fucking scenes where the brother's alive and you don't see his face. Anybody could play him.
All clearly teases for the sequel that, again, it's up in the air whether this gets made. I mean, this movie came out in February 2022. I have not heard anything regarding a sequel being put in production or anything like that. So,
but it was a huge hit.
It did make money. This made $400 million, which is more than I would have guessed.
It grossed close to $1 billion. 200 million short.
Oh, that's terrible.
But like compared to like Indiana Jones Dial of Destiny, I'm pretty sure it made more money than that.
Oh my God. This has an audience score of 90%.
No
Yes,
way. Really?
I just looked it up on Rotten. Audience score of 90, critics of 40. Wow. I'm not excited about the future state of mankind.
No.
No. So here's the thing. We got another segment we got coming up here. We're going to tie that in. We'll do our final thoughts coming up and end things here and find our treasure, I guess, here on Uncharted. Normies Like Us.
What do we call this segment, Jacob?
What should we call it? The treasure of Nathan Jake? Jason Jake? I don't know. Cobb charted a thief.
Where did the movies chart?
That's true.
We're back with a special segment here as we're wrapping up, giving our final thoughts here on Uncharted, here on Normies Like Us. First, we're going to do a segment that we just came up with the title off that we have to pitch now. Jacob, it is Cobb Charted.
Yes.
That's right.
Because
we're
what
talking
does this
about
revolve around? Yeah. What are we charting?
Well, this is about how this movie charted. So this movie, like we said, it was a big hit, $400 million at the box office. That makes it the 6th best-selling video game movie of all time. The 6th.
Wow.
So this segment is going to be, can you guys name all 5 of the top 5 best-selling video
Oh
game
wow.
movies of all time.
Okay.
All right, I have a
And
couple questions.
Can you do it in
before we-
order? Yeah.
In order.
I have a couple too. Mike.
Well, I
don't
guess
know if
we
I
should,
do it
we
in
should
order.
go back and forth, you guys naming movies and see how many you can get, and then try to put them in order, maybe. Like
Yeah,
you'll probably
sure.
get the top one. It's pretty.
Yeah, the
you know,
top one
obvious.
seems pretty much a gimme right now. But are
Yeah.
these adjusted for inflation at all? And are there multiple entries from a same franchise on this list? Am I allowed
that's
to
an
ask
interesting
that?
question.
I don't believe they're adjusted for inflation.
That's fine.
According to this list that I'm. Oh wait. Films. I'm not sure if they are, but it's just how much they grossed in theaters when they were in theaters. And I will say in the top 6 there's only one per franchise.
One per entry.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah. So
All right. Colin,
Would you
I
like
think
to
the
begin?
first
The
one we
cop
can
chart.
definitely nail, right? You want to take the first most highest grossing video game movie?
Yeah, because it is a film that released this year, I believe. This is what was formerly the highest grossing film of the summer or of this year. This is
That's right.
Super Mario Brothers.
that's right.
Ding.
The Super Mario Brothers before
All right.
Barbie passed it recently. Yes, that was 2023. It grossed 1.3 billion dollars. 1.3 billion.
You
Now,
can't put a number on it.
Video
1.3
games
billion.
are good.
Well, just to give you a clue about how much more that made, the second highest grossing video game movie of all time. I'm not going to tell you what it is, but I will tell you how much it made. 439 million. So we're dropping from 1.3 billion to 439 million.
I have
So
a
just
guess.
think about
Wow,
that.
that's huge.
Yeah.
Please, Mike. I'm so excited.
This might
The
be
Super
a bit of a
Mario
stretch.
made more than double.
I
any
mine.
other
I
video
also
game.
think is a stretch. I wonder if we're on the same page here. Go
I'm
ahead.
going to say Sonic the Hedgehog 2 makes it.
That is in the top 5. That is
It's in the top 5. It's
number
not
5.
number 2. Okay,
Yeah,
so
you don't have to
what I
name
was
an order.
gonna
If you could just
guess,
name,
Mike.
yeah.
but that's our bottom. So we have the top and the bottom now.
Yeah.
So what's in
Sonic the
between
Hedgehog
those
2,
numbers?
405 million, beat Uncharted by $4 million.
Jeez. What's the
So
audience
the
score on
rest
Sonic
of these
2?
films gross
In
in
the
the
400
million.
400 million,
That's
yeah.
incredible.
Between 400 million and
Mario
a billion. Oh yeah, 500.
was a
yeah.
phenomenon. That is
1.3
insane.
billion. So we have
So-
Uncharted at
That's a
6,
96.
Sonic the Hedgehog 2 at 5. Now, can you name 2, 3, and 4?
What
So,
other
I
video
have
games
a
am I going to guess here,
franchise.
Mike?
There's a Resident Evil movie that has to be in here. It's not the first one, Mike. Maybe Apocalypse. I don't know. What do you think's the highest grossing Resident Evil film, Colin? It's got to be one of those.
Yes, you are right, and it is going to be one of those third
to
dumbass
fourth.
Wes Anderson, or not what Paul W.S. Anderson films.
I will
What-
say,
Mike, what are those called? Is this one called Afterlife, Jacob?
Ooh,
Resident
that
Evil
might be good.
Afterlife, is that it?
Afterlife is one of them. I will say, none of the Resident Evil movies were in the top. The highest Resident Evil movie
Oh.
is at number 10. The Final
Wow.
chapter made 312
The
million.
final chapter. I would
Afterlife
never
made
guess that.
300 million. So they're in. The final chapter is at 10. Afterlife is at 11.
Dang.
Retribution is at 15. So none of them are in the top 5 or top
Wow.
6.
I guess it's the top.
None of
one the
those
top
video game
franchises.
movies, we should say. Yes.
Let's not
Yeah.
say Monster Hunter. That's definitely not in here.
No, definitely not.
No way.
It's not going to
No.
be Doom, dude. What
No.
other video game movies do you know?
Okay. Not Gran Turismo.
I'll give you a hint.
Not
Okay.
Gran Turismo.
All of these movies
3 more.
came out in the past 7 years. The oldest
Is
one
it?
was
Can I
from
ask one more
2016.
question?
Yeah.
Is another one an animated film? Is there an animated video game film I'm not thinking of that isn't Super
Okay.
Mario?
Somewhat. It's live action, but there is computer generated imagery in it. I'll say that.
Oh, jeez. These are
It is
video
the
game
Adam
properties.
Sandler film Pixels,
Of
based on
course.
all video games.
Wreck-It Ralph. Yeah.
Yeah, Wreck-It
not Wreck-It
Ralph.
Ralph.
Fake video game.
Okay.
You guys have any guesses? 2, 3, and 4?
Is it Sonic 1?
No, Sonic
No,
1
Sonic
is
1
franchises.
number 9. It
Oh,
made
of course.
320
Yes, he
million.
did say that.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I will give you
Oh, so sorry. Sonic 1 and Sonic 2 are 9 and 10.
no. Sonic
5
2 is
for Sonic
5.
Or
Uncharted is
6 and. Oh,
6.
yeah. I'm sorry. Yeah.
Sonic 1
sorry.
is 9. Then Resident Evil is 10 and 11.
2, 3, and
And I will
4,
tell you,
huh?
7 is the Angry Birds movie. 8 is Prince of Persia: Sands of Time.
Oh,
I'll tell you.
Mike, would you have
those.
guessed Angry Birds in a million years? That
Never.
wasn't even on my rate. We did an episode on Angry Birds, and I wouldn't
We
even think about
specifically
that.
did.
It made 352 million,
Okay.
and that's a Sony movie. So good job there,
Wow.
Sony.
Wow.
All right. any guesses?
Partially
2, 3, and
animated
4.
video game film. Mike, what are we? Twisted Metal's a show. Last of Us
That's
is a
right.
show.
I'll give you a hint. What's the biggest selling video game franchise of all time?
What? It's not Mario?
Come on, you guys know.
Biggest selling video game franchise. Of
Video
all
game
time.
IP, I guess you could say.
Oh, geez.
IP.
Why don't I know this? I feel
That
like
isn't
very dumb.
something like World of Warcraft.
Well, that's not the one I was
that
thinking of,
might
but
have been money.
Warcraft is
Yeah.
number 2 at 439
That's number
million. The
2?
Warcraft movie directed by Duncan Jones.
We didn't get a sequel to that bullshit, and
I
it
can't
made that
believe
much
it,
money.
yeah.
That's wild.
So we
Not
have
a good
2
movie.
more.
A movie I've
No,
seen,
terrible
and did
film.
not like.
We
but
should cover that film on this
Bro.
podcast. That is a terrible movie.
Yes,
Groner
and that's
is a new
Universal. So
series.
Universal has the top 2 video game movies of all time: Super Mario Brothers and
Wow.
Warcraft. But that's not the movie I was hinting
Wow.
at. Actually,
Okay.
the movie I was hinting at
3
is
and
number
4,
3.
and these hints Jacob's getting.
Think
What
about
is
all right,
this
Colin.
movie?
Remember back when this movie came out, you said this movie is going to be the biggest hit of the year.
Oh,
I think it's a prediction you made
Jeez,
on
and
this
hybrid
podcast.
live action.
yes.
Jesus
Easy.
Christ. So of course, this is a video game. Important to point out that this is
Yes.
it's of course a
It's based
video
on a
game,
video
but
game.
the title of this film is a
Is
video
a
game.
video
Well, this is Detective Pikachu.
Correct.
That's right.
Yeah.
Pokemon Detective Pikachu,
Wow.
433 million
Duh.
from Warner Brothers.
Wow. I
is
would
number
not
3.
have Pokemon was not on my radar, Mike.
It should have been.
I'm
Trying to hit
I'm
at
at
it,
sea
yeah.
here, dude.
Jeez.
So we had Super Mario, Warcraft, Detective
What
Pikachu.
can I just say real quick?
Yeah.
That film, it's not great. Deserved to make the money Super Mario made. Super Mario it's a fine movie.
Yeah.
Detective Pikachu is a better movie than Super Mario Bros.
There's a plot in that one. Bill
Right,
Nye wants to be a
yes.
Mewtwo. Like, come
And
on.
433
Yes.
million isn't enough for a sequel.
Yeah.
It stars our
Mike,
favorite maid
Bill Nye
from
wants to
Dungeons
be
and Dragons.
Mewtwo in that film. Yes,
Yeah.
it does.
It's incredible. And Ryan
Does.
Reynolds is
Justice-
his dad.
Justice
Ryan Reynolds
Smith.
is his
Yes.
and also Pikachu.
The twist
Yeah.
at the end
No
of the year
spoilers.
is like, of course.
Spoiler alert.
Yeah, you're like,
Yeah,
wow. Spoiler alert for all of that. Apologies.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
So again,
also,
all the top 6
What is our
all
last
came
one?
out
What is 4
since
here?
2016. So Warcraft came in 2016, Detective
All since
Pikachu
2016.
2019, Super Mario Brothers this year,
New
obviously.
Movies.
So
wanna
we're
get
just
it.
missing 4, right?
Sonic
Super
at the
Mario
bottom. We're
Brothers,
just
Warcraft,
missing 4.
Pokemon Detective Pikachu, 4, then 5 is Sonic the Hedgehog, 6 is Uncharted. So what could 4 be?
The
Would I
most
consider
popular
it-
Pokemon. You were so right when you said that, Jacob. Sorry,
Yeah.
go ahead.
I think that's just such a bigger
Now,
thing than
this
video
one-
games.
I don't know
It's-
if you're going
yes,
to think of it.
it's-
It's
I got
sort of an offbeat one that you might not think of. It came out in the year 2018. It made $428 million.
2018. $400 million.
Did we, can I ask,
Yeah.
did we do a podcast on this?
I don't believe so.
Okay.
I could tell you an actor who is in it, but that might make it too obvious. I don't know.
There's not a Metal Gear movie. There's not a fucking.
It's
Call
not a
of
video
Duty
game that
movie.
you would really think of. Like, it's not a video game that I don't think any new installments has even come out in a long time. So if you want, I can give you a hint and tell you the main actor in it. But that, again,
Yeah,
might
I'm a
give
little
it away.
lost here. We're giving Uncharted more time than it
Hit us.
deserves.
Hit us.
Stars a guy named Dwayne The Rock
Rampage, son of a bitch.
Rampage. It is Rampage.
Mike, because again, my brain goes to
Oh,
Doom.
man.
You're so clever. Rampage.
Oh,
And
my
no,
gosh.
they've never gone back. There's not been
Right.
a new Rampage video game.
No, the
Right.
giant monkey doesn't pull my finger.
Rampage.
Yeah,
Rampage. He
terrible.
does, Mike. He loves playing tricks on his human sign language owner or whatever
He
he
pretends to
is.
be dead or whatever at the end too. It's very
Rampage,
funny.
Oh,
also a movie
good
that I get
joke,
confused
George.
with San Andreas a lot.
Skyscraper.
because San Andreas was another movie that The Rock
San
was in.
Andreas, those
Yeah,
three
at the
films. Yes.
Yeah,
Skyscraper,
all like
San
disaster
Andreas,
movies
and
with The Rock.
Rampage.
Yeah.
I love when they show the 4 pictures of The Rock wearing the same shirt, and it's like these are 4 different movies.
Right.
Yes, khaki
Another video
shirt
game
in the
movie,
jungle.
Jumanji.
Yes.
Yeah.
Slightly sweaty.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well,
Not based
yeah,
on a video game, but they turn
should
it.
it be a video
They turn
game
a board
movie?
game into a video game.
Right. Wow.
Yes.
Okay. So the top
So we have
5
Super Mario
now.
Brothers, Warcraft, Detective Pikachu, Rampage, Sonic the Hedgehog 2, Uncharted. Then you have Angry Birds movie, Prince of Persia, Sonic the Hedgehog 1, Resident Evil Afterlife, Resident Evil the Final Chapter, Resident Evil Afterlife, Lara Croft Tomb Raider. So very interesting. The first Tomb Raider and then the 2018 Tomb Raider.
Right.
Then Assassin's
I
Creed.
remember those being big hits.
Mhm.
And then Resident Evil
Assassin's
Retribution. So there's the top
Creed.
15 right there. Yeah.
Now, Jacob, out of all those films, what would you like to see a sequel to?
I think Detective Pikachu. I mean, or no, you know what? Warcraft. I'll say, look, I'm a sucker for
Wow.
bad fantasy movies like Warcraft.
Yes, you are.
I would love to see a sequel, even though I did think that movie was bad. There are some fun moments and things like that. Really crazy movie. I can't believe that this was like a huge blockbuster movie that got made, and Duncan Jones directed it, son of David Bowie.
Wow.
Very strange, but
Instead
shows,
of going
yeah.
to Warhammer, when Henry Cavill left Witcher, he should have bought the Warcraft film rights and done a sequel to it.
Sure.
Well, I was going to do
I mean,
Warhammer.
that movie, it looks insane.
That's what I'm
because
saying. Fuck Warhammer.
Yeah.
It has terrible like CG, like very funny, weird cast. Like you had Paula Patton as like a half orc lady,
Oh,
Ben
yeah.
Foster as a wizard. Like really weird.
Half
movie.
the cast are digital creatures.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
they do a lot with orcs and stuff, which is kind of actually like Toby Kebbell, who was like Doctor Doom in that Fantastic Four movie and stuff. He plays an orc, and I kind of liked some of the orc stuff in that movie, but it's mostly bad.
Toby Kebbell, who of course plays the body for Kong Skull Island as well. He's also in that film. He's kind of become just a physical performer actor.
Yeah, he's like
That's
an Andy
interesting,
Serkis
Jacob.
kind of guy.
Right.
Yeah.
Interesting. Well, that just goes to show
Mike.
how. Yeah.
Well, I was going to say
Sequel
of that
movie?
list, and you can't say Sonic 3 because that is a real film that's coming. What would you want to see a sequel to?
Out of that list,
And you can include the Prince of Persia, starring Jake Gyllenhaal, of course. Assassin's
I would
Creed, starring
love for
Michael
him to come back
Fassbender.
to that.
I want none of
Michael
them.
Lots of
Fassbender
good video game movies
to break his bipolar disorder to come back and be like, I'm going to be an assassin again. I'd be like, oh my
Yeah.
gosh.
Now, can
No,
you
I'm-
guess where
I'm
Gran
out.
Turismo is currently on this list? Obviously, it's still in
27th.
theaters. Lower.
Oh, way down.
Wow. Okay.
Lower
36.
than 27.
It's right now the 36th highest grossing movie. It's behind things like Pokemon, Zorro Arc, Master of Legends, and
That's not a real movie.
That's a cartoon that was limited release to theaters.
Final
that's
Fantasy:
like
The
a
Spirits
blockbuster
Within.
original.
Oh.
yeah.
Oh,
it's-
okay, sure. I'll use my guess
'cause
and say
I'm
I would
good.
like another Final Fantasy movie. But Mike, no, come on, choose one. What are you saying? What would you want a sequel to?
A real Resident Evil movie, like an actual one, reboot
Yes.
everything
That
and do
follows
it
the
for
Well,
real.
plot.
Raccoon
game.
City, I like. so.
You know, rest in peace. You know, but no,
Hey,
that stays in
R.I.P.
a
Raccoon
perfectly.
City.
That stays in a
Lance
vacuum
Reddick.
sealed case because that's our Lance Reddick.
Yeah.
But reboot the franchise, do a real Resident Evil movie.
Oh,
That's
What
what I
about
want.
this? Just make Resident Evil 4 movie and just have it be the plot of Resident Evil 4, because that's the
I
one
want
that
Resident
a
Evil
lot
1,
of people
Spooky
like.
Mansion.
Yeah, a lot of people like 1 through 3 as well, but I feel like 4 is the one where a lot of normies kind of got into it. Maybe didn't
Yeah.
play some of the earlier
But-
ones.
You can do
so we're done with this segment here. That was a great segment, Jake.
Yeah, this just shows how exciting Uncharted is. We want to talk about anything else.
Yes,
Yeah.
anything else. But let me go off of what you said earlier to kind of segue to my final thoughts here, where you were like, I guess people don't just want one-to-one of the games. Now, I would, Last of Us, that's not what you would call a one-to-one, but it seemed like there was some
There's
sort
some
of
changes.
intent on preserving the story and,
Yeah.
trying to keep as many beats as possible. They would get these sound bites where Craig Mazin would constantly say that bullshit, right?
Right.
Resident Evil 4, when you said that comment of like, well, I guess, people don't just want 101. It's like Resident Evil 4 is the game where I'm like, just make the game a movie. Don't change anything.
Right.
And what is your guys' take on it? Because I guess I am someone who just says like, why not do a literal page to screen adaptation? Because most of the time people aren't familiar with everything. And when they are, they like seeing the thing they know.
Mario.
Yeah, I've always been confused by that
Yeah.
because like it took them so long to realize that, because before, let's say like 2016, video game movies, they used to be like, we're going to take the name and like maybe some of the character names, but change everything, like the Resident Evil movies, like the movie
Super
Doom.
Mario, the original.
Yeah,
He's
Super
kind
Mario
of a plumber.
Brothers.
You're like,
Yeah.
okay, wow, yeah.
Right. And it's like, no, just take what was good about the game. And I feel like Mortal Kombat maybe did it best in those days of like, we're taking the premise
sure.
of the game and making it into
Yeah.
a movie and kind of expanding the lore of the characters and stuff to have, because they don't really talk that much in the game. They're mostly fighting. Right.
No. Whereas on the flip side, Street Fighter was like G.I. Joe. So you're right.
Yeah.
But please keep going. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
No, yeah. I
Double
just
Dragon,
think
the Holy Trinity.
Like
yes.
Right. Like with Uncharted, those games are kind of meant to be like movies anyway. So why would you not just adapt the plot of those games? I guess
Same as Last
I
of
don't know.
Us.
Yeah, like Last of Us, they did that and they proved it that works. But also that's a mini series or a series rather than a TV or rather than a movie. So maybe they had kind of more time to explore certain things in the game.
Well, just do that then.
Would
like
you
just did with
want
One
an
Piece.
Uncharted
Give us
show?
time. Like,
No.
Yeah.
Here's the thing.
Yeah.
Uncharted is not just big spectacle action. It's like some executive, they showed him the intro and a couple big action scenes, and then they didn't look at anything else. They just knew the characters are named Jason Jake, Nathan Drake, and Sully, and Chloe.
You call me whatever.
Right, but in the games, like there's really good character development and relationship work between these characters. Like there's a chemistry with the voice actors, and like that is Uncharted to me too. A chemistry of the characters is just as important as the action set pieces, and they only did action set pieces, and that's why this is just inferior, like in every way, because even the action is less exciting.
They tried to, they tried to make it its own thing in the movies, and it's just like if you stick to what works in the games, that's what people want to see. That's why The Last of Us was so successful. Like we've proven it now, and like Super Mario Brothers, like the voice is Chris Pratt rather than what's his name, but
Charles Martinet.
Sometimes fan service
who's now
works.
retired from. Like if you show the fans of the game what they want, like obviously they're going to go, spend $1.3 billion watching the movie.
Yeah,
I don't know.
I mean, even Sonic is doing a weird version of like they're giving you what you want. He's got to go fast. We get Eggman. We get big robots. Like it's what you want, right?
And even Sonic learned their lesson because if they had ugly Sonic, as we know, the design that was universally hated by fans, and they're like, okay, you know what? We'll listen to the fans and we'll change it. And
well, even like that first road trip movie where it's like, why is Sonic not running around? They're like, look, if you get through this, Sonic 2 will be a Sonic movie. And I watched that Sonic 2 and I'm like, this is great. So I think you're right, Jake. They got a second swing.
So
now Sony, if they're going to make, I assume they're going to make a Horizon movie at some point because that's one of their biggest IPs other than Spider-Man and Uncharted. So I feel like that's the next step, like that or God of War, right? So and I think the plot of those games would work well in a movie. It would have to be pretty big budget to have the whole post-apocalyptic thing with giant robot dinosaurs walking around and stuff like that. But I could see that being at least a fun movie.
Yeah.
If they do it well.
Freddy Five Nights, is that Sony?
Five Nights at Freddy's.
That is
I'm
like
not
an
sure.
independent developer. It's like one guy made that game originally.
Okay.
So I don't know if he
What's
sold the rights or
interesting-
whatever.
Oh,
but-
you know what? It's going to Peacock, Mike, so that might mean it's Universal.
Okay, so
Now-
they got the rights for that. Twisted
Normies,
Metal.
I was telling
Freddy.
these guys off pod before this episode, this Five Nights at Freddy's movies, which comes out October 26th, I believe, is apparently 3 hours long.
Can't be true. Cannot be true.
No.
So as long as
I refuse
Oppenheimer.
it.
Yeah.
Well, if you haven't watched, 300 hours of Five Nights at Freddy's lore, breakdowns on YouTube. You
Right.
could make a
You're
3-hour
gonna
movie,
really
I guess,
need-
presumably,
yeah.
with how much people dove into
You're gonna
that.
really need all that lore. It's not just like mascots jumping out at you and scaring you. There's a lot more to it. You know, Josh
there's the
Hutcherson's got a
bite.
lot going on. Yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot going on.
There's a whole. Not only is there like a furry fandom within that fandom, I believe there's
Oh,
also
sure.
just like people who are like, well, this one, the cat, you know, who's like partially mangled, they're this way on the LGBTQ plus spectrum, and you're like, I'm not positive any of this is how.
If the
locked in any
Babadook
of
can
the
be
source
an icon,
material.
so can
Yeah,
the Five Nights
right.
at Freddy's.
The Bye Bye
I
Man.
don't know.
They're all
know.
LGBT icons to me.
Well, it's all just
I love that.
universally accepted that, you know, Freddy Fazbear is, and you're just like, wow, that's wild. I don't know,
Yeah,
I
of
love
course,
it.
he's all started as like a Chuck E. Cheese knockoff, right?
Yeah.
But you know, Chuck E. Cheese, he's bi. We all know that,
Yeah.
and we love him for it.
Mhm.
If some other kid leaned over when I was at a roller skating party and said that when I was a kid, I'd be like, "What do you mean?" But that's hey, I'm glad that the world's changed
I
to
am
this now.
I am
so.
loving that. I love the idea of getting the placemat at my Chuck E. Cheese birthday, and it gives me a they, them, he, she of each of the characters in the
Yes.
cast.
Yeah.
Like that's
Yes.
wonderful.
Oh, that's great.
why
Yeah.
not?
I love
Give
that,
me-
Mike.
give me the
That's
bio, yeah.
incredible. Please.
Favorite food.
Do it,
Yeah, give me
do
the
it.
breakdown. Yeah.
I'm gonna guess pizza.
Yeah.
Probably the favorite.
Very likely.
Um,
Extra cheese.
But yeah, speaking of video game movies, how much do we
Yeah.
think that movie's gonna be? Is that gonna be a hit? I mean, it's coming out in spooky season. It's a spooky movie.
It is. We're definitely going to talk about it on our spooktacular.
Mm.
I'm pretty sure
I'm
it will
pretty
be
sure
out
it's
by
gonna
that
make it
point
in.
when we're recording that.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm excited for it. I told you, I've said a million times on this podcast, I don't remember what movie it was. Nobody liked it, but what I recall is at the previews, my entire audience clapped at the fucking Five Nights at Freddy's trailer. So that fucking franchise has fans. It blows my
does.
mind.
It has tons of fans. They're probably in their teens now, going on dates. They need a spooky
Right.
movie so they can hold hands. You know, it's
Well,
gonna.
it's also it's like a
Yes.
popular Twitch game. People will react to it on
Yes.
Twitch, and that's popular because
Yes.
of the, you know, you get scared and stuff. So
We were just a little older than the target audience, but it's a massive
Yeah.
franchise. It is huge. So 3 hours, maybe excessive.
that makes sense.
But
I just don't know what could
It's-
possibly cause it to
Can
be
you
you
got to
that
do
imagine
the
long.
if there's a
origins for 45
3-hour
minutes.
Right.
Yeah.
But can you imagine a 3-hour cut of Uncharted?
Oh God.
No.
Only
no.
in my dreams.
Like you'd
Yeah.
play that in a prison, maybe.
Oh no, they banned that actually after
Yeah.
certain
You're not
advanced
allowed.
techniques. You know that then Nicolas Cage, National Treasure, he did his own Five Nights kind of thing in that horror
That's
movie.
right. Wally's Wonderland. Yeah.
Yeah. So
Oh, I've never seen that. Should I watch that?
That's a
Yeah.
bad movie.
It's all right. So is Uncharted, and that's,
That's
what we're
Uncharted,
talking
Normies.
about today.
I wouldn't even
Bad
say
movie.
all right. Here's the thing. Here's my final thoughts. I'm glad we did this.
Yeah.
I had talked to you guys about it before. My father and I, when we talk every week, we'll usually pick out like a movie. We're like, oh, we should watch this before we talk about it next time. We didn't even do that on this one. Like he told me, he was like, I watched Uncharted on Netflix. I was like, I'll watch that next week. Like done. And we were both by the next time like, boy, that's a film that's almost impossible to get through. But
Mhm.
I
Yeah.
like talking about it. Once we knew we were going to do this, like Jacob, when you said you hadn't seen it in that Indiana Jones episode, and then a couple days later, I saw you log Uncharted on
Yes.
Letterboxd, I was stoked.
I'm sure.
I flew to read that review, dog.
Well, you told me it was on Netflix, so I was like, well, I
Yeah.
guess I'm gonna have to watch it now because you gave me this
You have to.
information that it's available on
It's
Netflix.
like it's so accessible. I don't understand.
I
And
do,
when you
yeah.
tell me it came out like a year ago, I'm like aghast every time I see
Yeah.
this film.
Well, the
So,
fact
I
that this
don't
movie
know.
again came out in February, not like a peak blockbuster month, and it made $400 million. It made more
But-
than
and-
Dial of Destiny. It made more than The Flash.
But COVID was still going on at that point too, right? So it could have made more if you think
Well,
about
2022,
it, probably, right?
I mean, I don't know
It's
if it
probably
was
got
like
pushed. It
peak
probably has release
lockdown.
push
Yeah.
because of that.
Kind of done by that
Right.
point. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
But I mean, just the fact that that outsold so many of these blockbusters this summer that have just tanked. Like even Transformers, as sad as it is, was the lowest grossing Transformers, right? And probably didn't make as much as this movie. So very
Mhm.
strange that people, but again, I think it's like
He's-
a Venom thing where it's a disconnect where those movies were like huge hits and we can't understand why, but for some reason people are going to see these Sony movies.
Yeah.
Yes.
I don't understand
Oh,
it.
and Morbius, of course, the greatest joke of all
Morbius,
time. But
huge
sorry,
hit.
Jacob,
Mhm.
just because you just said it, you said earlier with the split in two MacGuffins, you also brought up Beast Wars. I can't even remember. What was the MacGuffin in Beast Wars that was split in two? What were they looking for?
I don't remember what
the
it was
whole time?
called, but it was like
I
some
just
kind
call
of
it-
Was it just like
seed
an
or something.
energon
Cosmic
cube, Mike?
key.
Yeah,
or
the
something.
cosmic key.
I don't know the
Okay.
actual name of
The
it.
space seed.
I can't even remember. That's what's incredible.
Yeah, was a different one in each of
Space
those.
seed.
Well, what was the one
Yeah.
called?
Right.
Well, they were looking for
The
Magellan's
Allspark.
Cross.
Yeah,
Yeah.
The transwarp key. Thank
the
you, Mike.
transwarp
Okay.
key. And there are two parts.
Sure.
You need both of the parts and put them
Same
together.
thing with
And
the
you
old Dial of
gotta
Destiny.
jam them together and friggin'
Just put them close and they will reassemble as intended.
a cruciform key, guys. I hate it. I hate it.
The
2
entity.
crucifixes, 2 cruciform key, 2 transwarp keys, 2 pieces of the Dial of Destiny.
Amazing.
What if? Okay,
I'm about to get a piece of my
What if
mind. I tell you.
Nathan
what.
Drake- One Piece again.
Huh.
What if Nathan
Right,
Drake
all in one
and
piece.
Sully Sullenberger met Archimedes at the end of this film? How would Sully Sullenberger react?
Just leave me
Being
here
like,
to die.
And Nathan
Yeah.
Drake just recites his entire life up to his death to Archimedes. And 1501,
yeah.
or whatever, yeah.
So this is what you did, and then you did this. Okay.
Yeah, incredible.
Uh,
Oh, well.
yeah, what was it?
Uncharted.
Yeah, in Dial of
Who
Destiny, it was
cares?
the dial of it was Archimedes' dial.
It
right?
was the
Yeah.
dial. It was the titular dial. Yeah.
and there's 2
Yeah.
pieces. Amazing.
Anything else?
Yeah,
happening?
which
Movies.
again would work once you jam them back together.
Mhm.
Yeah, movies,
After
they're
so
better
much
than
time.
ever. They're easier to write than
Better
ever.
than ever.
They're easier to write than
Yeah,
ever.
they
Yeah.
are.
Normies, if you know any other
They
movies that
really
have
are.
2-piece MacGuffins, let us know.
Two-piece MacGuffins with a triangle of characters. I'm telling you, that's our thing. Because again, if you look at Beast Wars, the girl who's in and out of the mission, I guess they kind of flip it where again our lead is the stoic opposed to the robot who's kind of the lovable hothead.
Yeah,
Well,
yeah,
sure.
yeah. But he's the mentor to the kid still, and he gives them the
Yeah,
Yeah.
robot
The Pete
suit.
Davidson robot, right?
But we do have a mentor,
Yeah,
mentee, and the
yeah.
side character,
Mirage.
female, yeah.
Yeah, my favorite,
Yeah,
Mirage.
That's
Well,
Normies.
these films are incredible.
Well, once the
They're the
strike's over
best
and they're
movies
paying
ever
writers
made.
again, we should get back at it because they seem really easy to
Yeah,
write. At
that's
least
right.
something that they'll buy.
That's right.
Yeah,
All right. Well, we've just charted the Uncharted for you, Normies. We appreciate you coming along on this
Wow.
adventure for us.
There is a song that plays over the credits that is some rapper that goes, "You think we're out here charting Uncharted? Now we're doing things charted. It's charted." There's
Wow.
some line like that where you're like, "Great."
I hope.
I
It's
guess that
ludicrous.
harkens back to Raph. Raph is the leader. It's like he's not, but clearly you did
Right.
no homework for this.
Or the
Phoning it in.
Eminem Venom song.
Yeah, yeah.
Venom.
Yes.
Famously phoning it in for a rap
Venom.
tie-in. Yeah.
Yeah, you love to see
Venom.
it, folks.
You love to see it.
What was the no Suicide Squad's Warner Brothers? What was the Skrillex Suicide Squad
Oh,
song
yeah.
called? Do you guys remember?
It was
I think it was called
No,
Pink
but it was,
Lamborghini or
it was
something
with
like
Rick-
that.
Rick
That was Rick
Ross.
Ross.
and
Pink
Skrillex.
Lamborghini, Rick
Yes.
Ross, and Skrillex. Yeah.
But
Yeah.
have you ever seen that music video?
Yes,
Because
good,
Jared
good,
Leto
Mike, good.
is in that
Yes,
music video
yes,
as the Joker, and it's
yes.
very weird. He's
Yes.
like on a boat.
Yes.
It's great.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, the Joker's
Yes.
just hanging out with Rick Ross and Skrillex on a boat.
Skrillex maybe works for the Joker.
They had
Yeah,
a
he's
gig
one
in
of his
Gotham.
henchmen.
He has a lot of the
Yeah, yeah.
nightclubs and after parties. So he.
They probably asked Margot, and she was like, "No fucking chance."
No,
just
that
hung
guy
up.
sent me like dead rats and used condoms.
Yeah,
he's
you
weird.
can't get me to appear with that guy. No
Yeah.
way.
Ah,
So there were
movies.
so many digressions. This, like we said, the map was really Uncharted on this one, gang.
Mhm.
We're so happy you came along to listen. This is a freebie. This
Hey,
is a
speaking
great
of
episode.
maps
We're
that
just
need to be
slotting
charted,
in-
we got some maps that are getting charted maybe in the other parts of the galaxy coming up
Look,
too. So if you like maps
we-
and figuring out where they're going,
promise.
boy, buckle in.
And if you like
promise
ships,
we
Three
will
maps in
stop
a
talking
row.
about pirates. We promise.
Pirates
we will
and
stop
maps.
talking about
We
pirates
promise we'll stop after
eventually.
this. Three
yeah.
map
Well,
things
this
in
and
a row.
like I was saying, this and One Piece are like the unofficial start to our Pirates series,
Yes.
which will be starting in November. So stay tuned.
Ooh,
Normies.
I like normies like us, but they do 10,000 episodes on Star Trek. Well, guess what? welcome to the age of pirates.
Ocean
bitch.
Tech,
Yeah.
baby.
Fucking yeah,
Welcome to-
adventures are on.
Just a different kind of ship with a different kind of captain.
That's right. It's Ocean Pod
Yes.
now. But yeah,
It's Ocean Pod, baby.
one more
We
trip
out
to
here.
space though before we fully
That's right.
commit to the deep
Yes, yes,
waters.
yes.
That's what I mean. That's the
What
third
all we
map.
know is
We'll be more
space and
Star
ocean.
Trek.
But they all have to have
And
maps.
forget-
maybe a war in the stars. Yeah.
Uh-huh.
That's right. Yes,
But then we'll get
that's
back to
correct.
it. Yeah.
But Normies,
Anyways,
thanks so much
Normies.
for listening. As always, check us out at Normies_like_us. Give us your thoughts where you say, I've played every Uncharted game. Awesome. What's your opinion on the movies? Again, that's what we kind of
Love
hit
it.
the most here. We would love a rec if you truly are like, this is the game of the franchise you have to play. I'd like that. I would try one of these.
Mm-hmm.
But we want to know what you thought about this piece of shit film. And of course, if you think there's going to be a sequel. So hit us
Of
up there
course.
and watch us at YouTube at Normies_like_us as well, where Jacob's putting our awesome video feed up there. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Otherwise, we have been your hosts. This is Colin Frazier. Is that what we decided her last name was?
Yeah. Colin Frazier. What's Sully's last name?
Sullivan.
No, Sully
Right?
is his last name. Victor
Sullivan.
Victor Mike Sully.
Victor Sullivan.
Sullenberger.
Yeah,
Sully
yeah.
Sullenberger.
Yeah, that's fine.
And this is, I don't know, Captain Jacob Drake. Jacob Jake.
Yeah,
How about that?
Captain
It's-
Drake Sparrow.
it's Draken
Maybe.
time.
He's back. Wow.
Yes. Why is the map gone?
But you have heard
Um,
of me.
Yes. All right.
All right, Normies.
Catch you next
Catch you on the
time.
high seas next time.
Yeah.
Ahoy.
You best
Bye.
be believing in Uncharted podcasts because you're in one.
You're in one. Oh man.
Bye.
Hit stop.